Storm Chasers 1290 Coil.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop! Swiffer Power Mop!
Email unsportsmanlike conduct on the Equitable Bank Zone Inbox with whatever is on your mind, from your hot takes to what you think is one. The Zone Inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. We want to hear from you on the Equitable Bank Zone Inbox.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. With Ramp, you get full visibility into your company's spending and control who spends what with each vendor. Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts instantly to save your team valuable time. Ramp automates data entry and routine tasks with automated approvals, expense categorization and bill payments, time-consuming tasks, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. Get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members of FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
Is your concrete cracked or uneven? Hey everyone, Coach Greg McDermott here to explain why you should choose Everlevel Concrete Repair. Many people think they need to replace broken concrete, but repairing it provides durable protection and comes at a fraction of the cost. Everlevel provides permanent repair solutions to fix your concrete and protect it against future damage, and it all comes with a long-term transferable warranty. They offer free inspections to walk you through the entire process. Call Everlevel Concrete Repair today.
1620 The Zone.
The 0-1 pitch, and the curveball driven in the air to right field. This one well hit. Going back is Sheets. He's on the warning track. He's at the wall. It is gone. Well, there's your extra base hit. It's a solo homer for Larnach, and it's 1-0 Twins. As he swings and drills one to right. This one well hit. Is it fair? It is fair and gone. .116.7 off the bat. And just like that, we're tied at 5. 3-2. High fly ball left field. Well hit. Benintendi to the track, and this one is gone. Carlos Correa, 12th of the year. And the Twins have taken the lead right back at 6-5.
Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy.
Hey, good morning, everybody. We are live. We are local. It is a Tuesday, the 9th of July. I feel like a proud papa listening to that highlight montage of the Twins pulling out an extra inning victory against the White Sox. Do you know the play-by-play guy that was filling in last night for the Twins?
I did not recognize.
I heard about his story, so it's one we can all get behind.
We got something's wrong with Nick's mic.
Oh, he's there.
Am I
we
here?
couldn't hear him.
We can't hear him.
Hi.
You're unmuted, so
we got nothing. But the guy filling in, so the radio voice of the Minnesota Twins, it used to be Corey Provis, and then he moved over to the TV side, and they promoted a guy named Kyle Atterbury. Kyle Atterbury is off on this final trip before the All-Star game, so the voice on those Twins highlights was Sean Aronson, who I feel like a proud papa because I hired Sean Aronson in Fort Myers to be the voice of the Miracle. And he moved on from Fort Myers, went to St. Paul, was with the St. Paul Saints when they were independent. And then when they got into organized baseball, and became a AAA affiliate of the Twins. He has remained the radio voice. He's been there for a while as the St. Paul Saints and got a chance to fill in for the first time. So he's doing a week of Major League Baseball. So, I mean, but still my heart. I'm like, man, I'm gonna text my man this morning and say, you started off our show.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. All right, now do we have Nick?
Am I? Do you have?
Nope.
We see you talking, but it should be on his end
okay.
because everything on our end is good.
All right. Well,
All
people
right.
are
Well-
missing out on the enjoyment of having
Let
a
me check
drive-through
here.
headset. Still got nothing.
Okay.
Might have to pick up the phone. This might be a cell phone show for you if we can't work through those difficulties. But welcome in, everybody. It is the 9th of July. Nothing says football being here, college football that is, than the Big 12 Media Days start today in Las Vegas.
Of course, the Big 12 heritage city of Las Vegas.
Where at 10:56 local time last night in Las Vegas, it was 108 degrees.
Yeah. Anyone that has been out there, and obviously Chris has called in from there, but you go to Phoenix at night and you step outside, and Vegas, same thing. Feels like an oven when you open the door. So, yeah, very familiar with that. Good day to be inside the casino or in a pool or both.
Well, here's the thing. Like they say it's a dry heat, and it actually is. I mean, it's warm.
It is.
But it is a dry heat. Like if you go to, let's say, Southwest Florida, and it doesn't really ever get 100, but it'll knock on the door of being 100, but you have humidity, and it is awful. It is oppressive. I don't know why people would ever go other than to go visit the parks, which is just a miserable experience this time of the year with so many people there, and it is hotter than you know what. So there's a difference between like the South heat and then like Las Vegas. But here's the other thing. And I was going to bring this up on the show yesterday because I was watching, they're doing the weather and, weird weather in this country where the hurricane has made landfall and it tore through Texas and it's making its way up through the Midwest eventually. And then you have the heat wave that is going on. Who in their right mind would ever live in Death Valley?
And there are people that do.
Yeah, like
besides the ones that work at the national park.
If you say, you know what, man, when I'm looking at relocating, maybe as I get a little bit older, 55 and older communities, Death Valley looks good to me. It was 128 degrees. Now, I don't know if that's a dry heat. I've never been to Death Valley. I've never been to Palm Springs, but 128 degrees is friggin' hot.
I have been to Palm Springs, and I can confirm it is warm.
So it is football season, and that's what football season is, the Big 12 Media Days in Las Vegas. Today will be kind of interesting, though, at the Big 12 Media Days, because this is the first time in that setting where you don't have the friendly media that cover you in Boulder. You will have national media. Deion Sanders will make an appearance today at Big 12 Media Days. He was not at Pac-12 Media Days last year. He did not go. This year, he will be there. He just got off his boat in Miami. And so the celebrity head coach will be in Las Vegas.
So he's coming.
Ironic. Yes, he is coming. There will be sound from Deion Sanders today. There will probably be sound from his son today. But I also wonder, and this is like the first taste of college football is right around the corner. And we haven't really gotten hot here yet. So you don't have that feeling.
Yeah.
Is media days. But at media days for the Big 12, who will be named the preseason quarterback? Will it be his son or will it be Cam Rising?
A healthy Cam. Oh, that's tough.
You want to create content and a reaction from dad? They announce right before he goes onto the stage or the podium or whatever they use for the Big 12 Media Days that his son is not the preseason quarterback of the year in the Big 12. Instead, it's Cam Rising, who is 36 years old and has 4 kids.
Mm-hmm. And who was hurt last year.
Yeah, and his youngest is about to get married, now entering his 7th year. That would be good fodder. That would actually help the Big 12. All right.
We need that.
Are we reconnected with Nick?
Do we have you?
Can you guys hear me yet?
No, we don't hear you.
We do not have Nick. Okay.
It's really frustrating. Still
All right.
nothing,
We're
huh?
going to have to, I think, not sure what the deal is there, but we will fix that. All right, coming up on the show, eventually we'll get connected by Nick. It might have to be a cell phone only show today. The little one is under the weather, so he is in his home studio in the bustling community of Bennington. But Sam Mcewen, fresh off vacation and with lots to talk about. I know Sam went on vacation. I know Sam had some
We're just going to assume
pre-written articles that they they published. But Sam comes back off of vacation, and so we'll have him on today at 7:30 with a thing or two to talk about. Also coming up at 9 is Brian Christopherson, and then Andy Kendy is back in at 9:45. This also should be a day, it may happen this morning while we are on the air, that John Butler is officially a member of Matt Rule's staff. He is already boots on the ground in Lincoln, so the paperwork being figured out and signed and all that kind of stuff. So I would
onboarding.
I would expect, yes, that first day that you start. Do you know that I never went through that here?
I don't think I did either.
I just kind of showed up.
That's literally what I did.
And I went on the air. So I was working on the air here, and I hadn't done any paperwork.
Just walk in.
Well,
turn the mic
I
on.
moved up here on a Friday. We did a rehearsal. Jason, Peter, Shane, and myself did a rehearsal on a Saturday. And then Monday morning, I came in because back then the morning show was 7 to 11. I came in at 6:30 and just started. And when the show was over, I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a desk, didn't know anybody. I knew Neil Melkin. I knew Shane Schillerberg, and Jason Peter. I knew nobody else. And they're like, you can go home now. You don't have to stick around. I'm like, okay. Am I not going to meet like the guy that I was on the phone with, Andy Ruback? Not going to like come by and say hi? So yeah, I never went through that. All right. Do we have Nick?
Do you guys have me?
We do not. Don't have Nick. All right, Nick, just grab the cell phone. We'll keep that cell phone
almost
charged.
Ken Dorsey'd it over there.
Yeah, I saw that. That would have been a meme, I'm sure.
Or a GIF for the show.
So that should be taken care of today. I did see, and he's a first-class guy, and Bill Bush, who is one of us. He's now in the media, former Nebraska assistant. When the news came out on Friday that Evan Cooper had resigned, there was a big push for Bill Bush. You got to make a hire swiftly. And people that were clamoring for Bill Bush probably didn't know that this had been in motion for at least 2 weeks to find a new defensive back coach. And Bill is very popular, and he is a really, really good dude. He's a quality dude, quality man, loves Nebraska, just happens to be in radio down in Lincoln on the ticket. So he's one of us. But I saw his message yesterday because, a lot of fans were clamoring for him because he was local and he's successful. And, in his stint when they shook up Scott's staff, Bill had a nice little run there, but wasn't retained by Matt Rule, got into radio. So that's pretty cool. He had a classy message yesterday about kind of explaining to fans that this is a business. Okay. And in this business, you work with people you're familiar with. And I'm sure Matt Rule has a great deal of respect for Bill Bush, but he does not know him. He's never worked with him before. And he was never a candidate for this job, this late opening. But pretty classy message about he gets it. It's a business. He hopes to work again. He's going to be 58. I don't understand.
He looks good for 58.
Oh,
looks younger than me.
He's an A-plus person. I don't understand why, there wouldn't be a high school in Lincoln that would reach out to him.
Pick his brain, something.
Or say,
quality person.
Would you like to in the meantime? Because he's going to work again, and he's smart. He's got a family, so he's not going to jump at every opportunity that comes his way. And he really likes what he's doing now, not just the radio stuff, but other stuff on the side. So he's not going to jump at a position where he's going to take his family. They're going to be gypsies again, moving all over the country. So he can be kind of selective. But what's the window like when you're 58 years old? But classy message. Basically, this is a business. It's about relationships, and wasn't going to happen. But he said thank you to the fans, and that's what the fans compared to the business side. Fans say, we got a great guy. We got a guy right here. He's familiar. He loves Nebraska. Hire him. Matt Rule says this is a business. I need a guy that can do this, this, and this, and I know this guy better than I know that guy. That's the guy we're going to hire, and that guy that he's going to hire should be official today. All right. Do you think Nick is going to be talking to us on the drive-through headset?
Oh, that would be. Yeah. From the
No, I'm on the handheld.
No landline there at the house?
I think my parents still have one at their house. I feel like there's a certain age bracket.
Now, hold on here.
You get to where you just don't have one.
Wouldn't you know that?
No, I don't have one here.
No, but
now,
wouldn't you know your parents have a landline?
Yeah, they do. I'm sorry. I should have said yes. 100%. They do have one. Yes, right. It's an old cordless phone too.
All right. Well, I mean, it's that was the phone of what are we talking about? The 80s? The 80s and the 90s when you had the cordless phone and you could walk around, you had the antenna, you had to pull the antenna out.
Fancy.
That's right. The antenna coming up, and they had always improved reception. That was always a big thing. So, and I've also noticed too, there's two people that I think in our world that still utilize a landline. Back when Brad Edwards used to be the BCS guru and the infancy of the college football playoff, he would always ask to call him on his landline. And then of course our friend Lee Sterling still has a landline as well.
Well, Lee's is business related though. Like I think he has to have that for his business.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. There are very few of our guests that say, "Hey, I got a backup. I have a landline." Like we know that Brian Edwards has a terrible cell phone. So to have a landline, he's got to go to his mom's house.
Right.
On one hand, you live in Destin, and the other hand, you don't have.
How's the cell coverage in Bennington?
I mean, you guys tell me. I think it's okay. But okay, good. Yeah, right now I'm just I got the kid on the other side of the house right now sleeping it off. So we'll at some point he might come in and want to be a part of the show. That's the bummer about this thing not working on TV is he was probably going to pop his head in many, many times. So maybe we'll get this thing up and running though.
All right. We have lots to talk about. Some Nebraska football, as I mentioned, John Butler. At some point today, that should be made official that he is joining Matt Rule's staff. He's already in Lincoln. He's gone to work. And Nebraska's going to work, whether it be with your NIL, making you have a decision on what you should do as their relationship with 1890. They just reconfirmed their marriage. And also, we didn't get to it yesterday, but August 17th will be a very interesting day, smack dab in the middle of camp, when David Sanders, the 5-star offensive lineman from Charlotte, North Carolina, surprised some that Nebraska's in his Final Four, but how surprising is it? We will dive into that. Sam Berbisi and AK will join us. We'll try to get reconnected on the TV portion with Nick during the break as we lament that July is such a terrible, and I say this, and I'm kind of contradicting myself. I say this because I just talked about college football ramping up and media days. This is such a terrible month for sports. Last night I wanted to watch.
Agreed.
I wanted to watch like the Royals weren't on. I watched the Twins and the White Sox, but I can't watch the White Sox because they're just that. God bless anybody that is stuck with the White Sox all season long. But there was like very little sports on. I watched some Summer League basketball from Utah that we'll talk about because Zach Edey had to tuck in his shirt last night, which is the first time I've ever seen Zach Edey in his basketball career have to tuck in his shirt. But this just points out, I think the NBA is missing out on a prime opportunity to be playing in the month of July. Games that matter. Like I think the NBA season should not start like a 2 weeks before Halloween, that it should start on Christmas. And then you'd be playing in July. We'd have the NBA Finals going on in July. And July then would have a different ranking in the Gary Sharp rankings of the worst sports months.
Wait, what was the other one did you put in there? Do you put February in there?
February is a little bit of after the Super Bowl. Yeah. So I give you only half a month. Because once the Super Bowl hits, it kind of like is and then it ramps back up, and then March is in tier 1 of my rankings.
Okay. See, I that's right, because I always feel like I got to stand up for February because you get in, the Super Bowl, but then after that, you at least get into some college basketball games that matter, and then you're heading towards conference championships and conference tournaments, which gets you primed for March. Now, I know most of the conference tournaments start in like the first week of March, but it's kind of the moving month for college basketball, if you will. July sucks. It just does. And so, and you guys know how I'm a huge, huge NBA hoop head. So if you brought me playoffs in July, my God, guys, I would go bananas. I don't think any studio could contain my excitement, but you're right, because you would have the stage to yourself. I think they already do a good enough job of that. I think they do a good enough job of being able to go back and forth, especially when you get the NBA Finals. You got, game one night, then you get Stanley Cup Finals the next night. You go back and forth a little bit there. But having July, other than the All-Star game, and I mean, does anybody watch the ESPYs anymore? I mean, what do you really have in July?
Yeah, it's Wednesday night, next Wednesday.
Worst sports day of the year.
Now, see, that is so February. I don't even know if you pinpoint one day and say that's the worst sports day. Jimmy's right. The Wednesday after the All-Star game, it is the worst sports day of the year. There's zero. There's nothing. You don't wish it upon your team or maybe any teams that you cover that some type of controversy takes place. But in the back of your mind, you're like, it wouldn't be the worst thing to be able to talk about right now.
The ESPYs are the day after the All-Star game, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I only know this because I saw a thing while watching the
That might be
ESPN
one of the most
Plus.
amazing things that ESPN has done. And I know now it's become more of a charitable thing, whether it be for Stuart Scott, Jim Valvano, some of the Arthur Ashe Award they give away or they give out, that the ESPYs have stuck around this long.
Yeah, it's got to be about 30 years now.
It used to be a big deal when you'd get nominated for an ESPY. I very rarely see people with press releases or anything like that, hey, we got nominated for Play of the Year, Team of the Year, those kind of things.
Yeah, and I think if it was in any other month, obviously it would be shuffled away. There's a reason, obviously, it is where it is, but I think that's probably the only thing keeping it going. But yeah, I remember when I was younger. I mean, even 10 years ago, that I would actually watch it. I can't remember the last time I've watched a full ESPY. You'll maybe pick at it every now and then. Or like, oh, let's see what's going on here. But maybe you'll watch the monologue and see how that goes, and then after that, you're like, okay, I'm good.
If they can only have Norm Macdonald, rest in peace.
You're right.
Still the best of all time.
I think
it really was.
I think Serena Williams is hosting this year. It's sports related people that are hosting. I don't think it's a comedian or Peyton Manning's not going to be uncomfortable in the crowd because Jamie Foxx is going all in on his time at Tennessee or anything like that. But it's an amazing feat by ESPN that the ESPYs have stuck around. Now they're smart. They've transitioned into more of a charitable aspect of it.
Yeah.
But it used to be a big deal because it was unique. And then it fell in line with it, every other night there's an award show on TV.
Yeah.
Just do it from the Sphere. Everything is better at the Sphere.
Exactly.
Oh, there you go. I'm surprised that do we know that it's definitely, well, I guess no, it's not. It's still in the theater in Los Angeles, the Dolby Theater. So, they're close enough though. They're on that section of the country. Why don't they just move it over to Vegas? Rediscover and reinvent the ESPYs. Make it just a must-watch TV programming. A little Wednesday of what you're not going to do in July. What is this? It's on July 11th. I'm sure a lot of people are either on vacation or just counting down the days to. Well, I guess we will have some Big Ten media or some media days going on. Big 12 media days this week, obviously, but you'll be in between media days too with SEC, ACC,
Wait a
and
minute.
Big Ten.
You said it's on you said it's this Thursday?
This says it's on the 11th, so it is this Thursday.
I mean, I'm still not watching.
That
I thought it was
that
next
Wednesday
week.
after the All-Star game just became even worse.
Ooh.
Yep.
They
got nothing.
Check the WNBA schedule. Caitlin Clark playing or Angel Reese. That'll fill a void.
Old college football games on YouTube.
One thing here, just a little time for a Gary TED Talk. If you are going to Vegas, and this isn't, watch your wallet, don't, when you're on the Strip and people want to hand you stuff, it's okay to say no. Don't follow people into dark alleys. Don't overpay to stare at Pete Rose and have him sign something. If you happen to get a hotel room, because this has happened with me with two people that I know that have recently gone to Vegas, and they got a hotel room. One of them went for the NHL draft, by the way. They were outside of. They had a hotel that had a great look at the Sphere. It's cool. I can't wait to go there. I want to go see a concert inside of there. I've gotten all the tips on where to get seats. I want to see something there. I think it's unique. But when you go there to your buddies or your family members, I don't need to see 45 pictures of the Sphere from your location that all look the same. One will do. That's just my personal preference. I'm not calling anybody out that I might be related to, but you know what? One picture of the Sphere from your hotel room looks exactly like the next one.
Oh, this is from a hotel room. That's worse.
Yeah. Well, then they.
I'm guilty of doing stuff like that.
They went and saw a movie in there. It was like Finding Nemo.
What?
Because they were like they had pictures of like a video of sharks and fish. I mean, it's damn impressive. But I got like 31 pictures of 27 of them were from the hotel room overlooking the Sphere. And I'm like, oh, other than the sphere like changing like from a smiley face to promoting the NHL draft, it looks exactly the same. Thank you. But they're like, oh, I got more. They like to send me a first batch of 8, and they're like, oh, I got 8 more. And I'm like, oh, no, I don't have any capacity on my phone. So there you go. There's just my thing. I'm not here to tamper down your sphere party, but one picture looks like the other. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna piggyback off that, because the sign of, I think, of people getting a little bit older is, it's a similar thing with just regular posts on social media. Anytime you exceed, I'm going to say 10 pictures, 10 photos, and it's on one post, and you see like a group of 4 pictures, and then on the bottom right it says plus 45, meaning there's 45 more pictures. That's when you know, okay, Mom, you didn't need to take that many pictures, or Dad, you didn't need to take that many pictures. I think it's,
you look like Elvis.
Now I'm 45, so I'm in this. I don't do this, but I think it's a 45 plus thing. I don't think anybody under the age of 40 does the 10 or more photos. I think that as an old person. Huh?
Did you just throw some shade?
I did.
Oh.
I mean, I'm lumping myself in that category now. I don't do that, but I think people around my age and older get a little crazy with the posts. And yeah, you see like plus 36 pictures. Like, what the hell so then you move
what
on.
If they
You're
met
like, okay, I don't really need to see all that.
Yeah, you'd unfriend that
person.
All right.
Hey, by the way, I was thinking, you mentioned this question, Gary. You asked this yesterday, and I don't know if you even remember asking it. Why is it hawk to a girl and not woman?
Yes.
Okay, so I gave more thought to this. Oddly enough, driving home yesterday.
That's a guy that's wife is out of town. All right, continue on. This ought to be good.
That edible must have really hit.
Thank God she's back this afternoon. Speaking of which, here's a little guy. We've got I would say the girl. When you think of girl, don't you think of maybe not as old or less mature, as opposed to woman? That when you say, oh, that's a very mature woman, how many times do you say that's a very mature girl? So I'm going to go ahead and say that woman gives you a sense of maturity, or a sense of at least some bit of sophistication, where girl is, okay, a little bit more mature. And can't we admit that the whole Haktua thing on the street, that was probably more of a little bit less mature moment? Yeah. So that's my theory. That's why it's girl and not woman.
Okay. Well, she's got her 15 minutes of fame. I think Switch's 15 minutes of fame are about to go out the window. So we had to have somebody replace him. Yeah, he's involved in a little bit of scandal. You can you can Google that. All right. We will get into, as I mentioned, some football stuff. It is Big 12 Media Days in Las Vegas. Ollie Gordon, who got arrested, the star running back for Oklahoma State, top running back in the Big 12, will be at Big 12 Media Days. So that's kind of interesting.
NIL deal with Uber?
And Arizona accidentally brought a player that's not old enough to get into the casino. So he will be doing his media availability outside of the casino in which they are hosting the Big 12 Media Days.
Wow.
Those days when you have to be 21 to get into a casino.
You'll remember this didn't happen in Kansas City at the hotel. Everybody was invited to participate and even have a meal.
But good on Oklahoma State, because Ollie Gordon is one of those guys that's being mentioned for the Heisman Trophy.
He's a dude.
He had a great one of the best running backs in college football last year, back in Stillwater. I wonder his arrest for DUI recently, how much it affects the Heisman Trophy stuff. But good on Oklahoma State, because they are bringing him now. He has released a statement, and it's very contrite. But good on them for bringing him to media days and not saying, no, we're going to avoid it, we're going to leave him. People want to talk to the best running back in the Big 12. He had a misstep. He's going to talk about it. He's going to be asked about it. And he's there. He's front and center. Good on Mike Gundy and good on Ollie Gordon, because it would be pretty easy to say, man, you messed up. You brought bad publicity yourself into the program. We're going to leave you at home. They're like, no, we're bringing you.
Oh, yep.
I also
bed,
like
sleep in it.
I like that for the now, but I also like that for the future of him too. When you're thinking about talking to NFL GMs and going through the combine, even if you're at the combine or not, but going through those interviews, and you have a chance to point back to, hey, you know what? I addressed this head on where people could fire away questions at me with our conference media days. It's very rare. I think that's a good look for, you're right, a guy who made a misstep, a guy that's, those things have happened to a lot of student athletes. And I understand a coach or even an athletic department that wants to kind of protect that and not put that person in the crosshairs, especially so quickly after the incident took place. I wonder how much of this was Ollie Gordon saying, hey, I want to do this, because I think that's a really strong look for someone who knows he made a mistake and wants to approach that. So again, I think for the college football element in the season upcoming, I think it's a good thing for them to be able to, for Oklahoma State to kind of be able to put it behind them and for Ollie Gordon to take that. But I also think that's a good look as you make it to the next level too, when it comes to character type issues of like, hey, we can point back to something that happened in college. What have you learned from that? Or you can be like, well, I tried to approach it right away and I tried to address it right away. So I think that's a good look.
Yep. All right. There's Nick. I'm Gary. Jimmy is here as well. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Sam Mcewen, Brian Christopherson, and Andy Kendy all slated to join the show today. You can join it as always, 402-951-1620. That is the hotline, brought to you by 42 Degrees The Source, by your mom's house. You can always email us into the Equitable Bank inbox where they take banking personally. Gary at 1620thezone.com.
Handley at 1620thezone.com.
Also on the J-Tech Construction Zone Twitter feed, where we're hot and heavy already this morning. Somebody asking, do you recline your seat on an airplane? The answer is no. At Gary Sharp 1620.
At Nick Handley 1620. I will do it slightly, very small, but I don't do it all the way.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes I get lower back. My lower back tenses up sometimes. So I feel like if I recline just enough, that'll help. And it really doesn't, but I'm always convinced that maybe it would be better if I did that.
Wait a minute, this is a good question because when you're sitting behind somebody and they come all the way back and you're a little, this is a good discussion, because if you paid for the seat, as long as you're respectful, I almost anticipate you reclining.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I always
you would never
even
notice.
I always expect the person in front of me to recline their seat. But me personally, mm-hmm. I very rarely recline my seat because I don't want to be told, sir, you must put your seat back in its upright position.
Right.
So I also can sleep with I don't need a reclining. But so I don't recline my seat, but I'm not fighting anybody unless they are inconsiderate and they just they scrunch me.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's noticeable, yes. Like I said, you wouldn't even know until the lady comes by, and she might not even know. I do it so subtle that I don't even know if she notices or he notices that my seat goes upright or goes back a little bit, that I have to be reminded to put it upright as we're getting ready to land.
Mark says, absolutely. I paid for the seat. The seat reclines. I'm going to recline it. Okay. All right.
You do you, Mark.
Madness in the skies. All right. We're off and running. 6:38 on a Tuesday morning on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. Omaha's most listened to all sports radio station. Again and again and again. 1620 The Zone.
Some people just know the best rate for you is a rate based on you with Allstate. Not a rate based on Terry, who keeps and makes the car behind them. Oh no, they're about to. Save with DriveWise in the Allstate app and only pay a rate based on you.
Not available in every state, subject to terms and conditions. Rating factors and savings vary, and in some states your rate could increase with high-risk driving. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? You've got an oil change coming up. You can go farther and save on full synthetic with our oil change special. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of STP full synthetic oil with an STP extended life oil filter for just $29.99. Get the parts you need when you need them at AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Veterans, Do you know what local, state, and federal benefits and services you're eligible to receive? Do you want help navigating the application or appeals process? Speak to your county veteran service officer or the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs State Service Office to see what's available to you and your family. You've served our country, now let us serve you. Visit veterans.nebraska.gov today. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
When it comes to protecting your home, J. Stennett Contracting takes pride in ensuring every detail is handled. Roofing, siding, gutters. When it comes to the exterior of your home, J. Stennett Contracting has you covered. Water, wind, and hail can wreak havoc on the exterior of your home. If your home is damaged, let J. Stennett Contracting come out for a no-obligation inspection. If repairs are needed, they will help you through every step of the process. When you need an honest assessment, J. Stennett Contracting has you covered. JSCRestoration.com.
If you've got heart, come on out to Warner Park. We're gonna make some memories for the Chasers family.
Don't miss great savings with the Storm Chasers on Thrifty Thursdays, presented by Pinnacle Bank. Every Thursday, get discounted tickets and select concessions at the ballpark, plus discounted domestic beer cans and small Pepsi products. Find more daily specials at OmahaStormChasers.com.
Omaha Storm Chasers family. Everyone get on your feet, stir up the storm, we're family.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
I plan to rearrange my closet, but I stopped after picking the clothes up off the floor.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel's award-winning language learning app will help you start speaking another language. Start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks.
Comment tu t'appelles? Comment tu t'appelles? Vous êtes où?
Vous êtes où?
Babbel's bite-sized lessons make it easy to learn words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks,
"How's your French going?"
you can say,
Babbel est amusant et facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue. Et cela ne prend que 15 minutes par jour.
when you want to really learn another language, it starts with Babbel. Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Small business owners, we know finishing your to-do list can feel like rowing upstream, but it's a river, a whitewater river, and the only paddles you have are pool noodles. Then when a new to-do pops up, you're like, nope, I'm already rowing upstream with these pool noodle paddles. At Progressive, we don't want to make your day any harder. That's why we make it easy to get personalized discounts with a commercial auto insurance quote online. So your to-do list is smooth sailing. See if you can save on commercial auto insurance in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverages and discounts not available in all states and subject to policy terms and underwriting.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
All right, good Tuesday morning, everybody. Welcome back in. 1620 The Zone, TV, wherever you are consuming the program. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Do we have Nick?
He was there, and now he's not.
Okay.
Oh,
everybody.
Let's see.
Everybody else could hear Nick except for us. All right, here we go.
Anything? Can you hear me?
And we got nothing.
Okay, let's try this. I'm just going to.
We're just going to, if you're watching on TV, you can just look at Nick and see him talk. And now he's fiddling with stuff.
Oh, now he has himself muted.
Okay. We need to figure this out.
Yeah.
This is this becomes the number one priority off to the side here as we welcome you back in. And we have triggered some people about reclining your seat on an innocuous, just a tweet about, do you recline your seat on an airplane? Wait till I pose the question later. Should you tip a repairman? Couple of no. This is a thing. I have to have some work done, so I'm wondering if I tip a repairman. Steve says people are larger and the seat spacing are smaller. No reclining. Don says on Twitter, what if everyone were to recline? Wouldn't it offset? Only those in the back row wouldn't be able to. Then everyone is comfy and happy. Me personally, I do not recline. I have the uncanny ability to sleep on planes, so normally I'm zonked before takeoff. Thank you. I am the same way. I am not a recliner guy. I'm not opposed to being recliner as long as you are respectful, but I also am somebody that likes the last row of the plane.
Oh, that's money to have the last row.
But there is a trick. So a friend of mine that flies Southwest quite a bit and really enjoys Southwest, and he sometimes will, depending on if it's the last leg of a flight and he's tired, he will purchase up into the A group. But if he gets stuck with, back of the A's or the early B's, sometimes to screw with people, he will go and when you have the open seating on Southwest, he will sit in the middle seat. So people are like, I'm not sitting next to that guy. That's weird. You have a chance to sit on the aisle or the window in open seating and you're one of the A or B's and you're sitting in the middle seat. What's going on? And he usually ends up, no one will sit by him. And so he's able to slide over to his left or his right and gets the choose of the people that come and sit next to him. All right. How are we doing here?
He is troubleshooting on his end.
All right.
So we are communicating.
I love this, though, that Nick keeps just talking. If people are watching on TV, Nick just keeps talking and he can hear us.
They think that their sound is messed up on their phone or their computer. They keep hitting their phone. I see him talking, but I can't hear him.
All right, let's take an early break. We'll do some troubleshooting. I apologize for our technical difficulties this morning. We will get this fixed for all of you because we got a good show ahead. Sam Mcewen will stop by coming up in about 40 minutes. I'm sure he's got a thought or two on what happened over the weekend. And what happened yesterday is Nebraska, again, reiterated that 1890 is their recognized collective. And what does it mean for all of you? Could mean a lot if you are somebody that is a donor or a season ticket holder. That and much more as we roll till 10 on a Tuesday on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Pyramid Roofing Time-Saving Traffic Center. There is a disabled vehicle reported near the intersection of 72nd and Hartman, and westbound Dodge right now down to just one lane between 90th and 96th due to a water main break. The two left lanes are closed right now. You will have to stay right in that area. Currently no crashes reported. Just remember, stay safe and wear that seatbelt. I'm Peter Krunzer.
This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
We're excited to announce the grand opening of Saul's Jewelry and Loan's new downtown location. It's a Saul's shopping experience like you've never seen. Amazing jewelry finds at our famous best-in-town prices. Tools, bikes, guitars. 22nd and Hardy, downtown Omaha, Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
You're always better with a roof from JR.
We've had more than our fair share of hail and wind this year. Are you playing roofer roulette? That's when you bet your roof and your home on the first random roofer to ring your doorbell. Why do that when JR Roofing offers a free hail and wind report online at jrstormcheck.com? Just plug in your address and we'll pull a multi-year storm report. You'll know exactly what your roof has been put through and if you even need an inspection. If you do, no one is more thorough and works better with your insurance than locally owned, veteran-owned JR Roofing. And if you need a new roof, remember, a roof from JR comes with a lifetime warranty on workmanship. Don't play roofer roulette with your home. Visit jrhailcheck.com. And remember,
You're always better with a roof from JR.
Visit jrhailcheck.com.
Check 1 2 2. Check 1 2 2. Check 1 2 3 4 4.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
I'm Omar Reese
Check,
with
check,
NFL
check.
Network Now on the Westwood
Check,
One
check.
Radio Network. Steelers cornerback Cameron Sutton has been suspended for 8 games without pay for violating the league's personal conduct policy. Sutton entered a pre-trial diversion program in April to resolve a domestic violence case. He signed with Pittsburgh in early June after his release from the Lions. Free agent safety Tashawn Gibson accepted his 6-game suspension for violating the NFL's performance-enhancing policy and plans to play a 13th season upon completing the suspension. The safety is eligible to sign with the team and participate in all preseason activities, including preseason games. And after playing in only 10 games in 2023, Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow says fans have forgotten how good he is and vows to change that this season. Burrow telling Pardon My Take, quote, "I'm going to give people something to talk about this year. I'm excited about it." This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
As you know, summer is right around the corner, and for most people, that means more activities, more golf, more biking, more of whatever you love to do. But if you're dealing with aches and pains, your more could become less. This is why I'm here to tell you about Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that helps fight pain naturally. For instance, I was sent Relief Factor to try, and I've been taking it every single day. I'll tell you what, I feel the difference every day. You see, instead of masking your pain, Relief Factor's formula is designed to help reduce or even eliminate it. It's 100% drug-free, and it's been a game changer for so many people. So let's get after it this summer. Let's feel good. Let's do more of the things that we love to do. Don't let pain keep you down. Give Relief Factor a try and save on your first order. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Help fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. These products and statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or...
Velocity Clinical Research in Omaha conducts clinical trials for investigational treatments and research. Typical studies involve medications for high cholesterol, diabetes, infectious diseases, and acne. Some current studies include low T, RSV, fall influenza, pediatric influenza, pediatric obesity ages 12 to 17, adult obesity, and asthma. Velocity also performs vaccine studies. Studies are medically supervised and do not require insurance. Velocity recognizes your time is valuable, so they offer compensation for study-related time and travel. Find out more at velocityclinicaltrials.com.
Tickets for less. Best seats, best prices, no service fees. Shop ticketsforless.com. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
All right, welcome back. We'll get an update with Jimmy. Nick, talk.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me at all? All right.
I guess we'll be seeing him soon.
All right. Let's get an update here. A good start to the morning. I mean, we all have hiccups.
Hey, it happens, and it's a gorgeous day. This isn't negative. This is all positive. Let's start. We have no music bed, so that's okay. Who cares? We talked about it yesterday. Keisei Tominaga becoming the second Nebraska men's basketball player selected to the Paris Olympics, as Japan announced its 12-member team yesterday morning. You heard about that. He recently signed an Exhibit 10 contract with the Pacers. He'll participate in the second Olympics as he was a member of the 3x3 team for Japan at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. They'll wrap up their Olympic preparations against the Germans on July 19th before opening pool play with the Germans on July 27th. They'll also take on France and Brazil in pool play, though not at the same time. That would be quite the disadvantage for Keisei and his teammates. Speaking of 3x3, Creighton's Morgan Molly will compete at the FIBA 3x3 Nation League's Americas Conference in late July in Mexico City. The USA 3x3 Women's Nations League team features NCAA Division I athletes, including Christina Dulce of Maryland, Morgan Molly, Cody McMahon from Ohio State, Lucy Olson from Iowa, Michaela Williams from LSU, and Sarah Williams from the University of Wisconsin. Dulce, Molly, and Olsen competed at the 2023 FIBA 3x3 Under-21 Nations League, qualifying for and eventually winning the league final as the representatives of the USA Under-21 squad. In the NFL, Steelers quarterback Cameron Sutton has been suspended 8 games without pay for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. He'll be eligible to return Tuesday, October 29th, following the Steelers' Week 8 game against the New York Giants. He entered a pretrial diversion program in April to resolve a domestic violence case, According to court records, he's been charged with misdemeanor battery after he turned himself in to the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office in Florida in late March after being wanted for weeks by the Fuzz. The NFL said an investigation of the incident found that Sutton violated the personal conduct policy, is not appealing the punishment. Baseball, Royals shortstop Bobby Witt Jr. and Braves outfielder Marcell Ozuna will be competing in the Home Run Derby. Witt and Ozuna were both already heading to Arlington as All-Stars. It's the first time for Witt and the third for Ozuna, who last made the team in 2017. Witt grew up in the DFW area. Remember, his dad played for the Rangers. He makes it in just his third season of the majors. Finally, this is a weird story. Former Dodgers outfielder Raul Mondesi, remember, he's pretty good. He was sentenced last week by a Dominican court to 6 years and 9 months in jail and fined $507,000 for corruption during his time as mayor in the city of San Cristobal. Prosecutors accused the now 53-year-old Mondesi of embezzling $5 million during his time as mayor between 2010 and 2016. The sentence came after a deal with the prosecutor's office. Mondesi, whose son Alberto was a big league shortstop and played with the Royals, spent 6 years under house arrest, which means his sentence has already been completed. As a Dodgers outfielder, he won NL Rookie of the Year award in the dreaded 1994 season and played in the All-Star game a year later, which was in Arlington, by the way. The Dominican was in Major League Baseball for 13 seasons and won 2 Gold Gloves. His career also includes stints with the Blue Jays, Yankees, Diamondbacks, Pirates, Angels, and Braves. He finished his career with an average of 273, 271 homers, and 860 RBIs. By the way, I didn't know he was in politics. It started in San Cristobal, where he represented as a lawmaker between 2006 and 2010. After his time as mayor, he bid for the Senate but failed. So you learn something new every day.
Speaking of, I guess I would call him a former major leaguer that is facing legal repercussions. We had an update on Wander Franco.
Oh, yeah.
So in the Dominican Republic, the allegations that he had a relationship with a 14-year-old girl. I thought the deadline for the prosecutors to press charges was July 5th. And I don't think I saw anything. Now, his chances, I mean, he may be Trevor Bauer and blackballed, and he'll never be able to come back into the majors. But I haven't seen if he's been charged. The way they did it, if I understand this correctly, they ordered Franco to be investigated for the allegations that he committed sexual and psychological abuse of the minor. But then charges 6 months after a judge says, let's investigate him, they have to be filed. That's like their deadline. And I don't think I saw anything filed.
So it just kind of goes away, or?
Well, I don't know. There may be a stipulation of, a judge can extend that or something. But when you were talking about the story about Raul Mondesi, I thought, man, Wander Franco, you haven't heard his name in a while? There was a guy that was the face of the Tampa Bay Rays. He was an up-and-comer. He was going to be a star in the majors. And then he got in trouble and got arrested, got sent to, he was jailed and then released on his own recognizance down in the Dominican Republic. Back to the Home Run Derby. So I think it's cool that Bobby Witt Jr. is going to participate in the Home Run Derby in his hometown, but I wonder if he was forced, because he's not really a Home Run Derby guy. He's not a big, hit for power guy, even though he's a 30 guy. But I'm talking, I want my Home Run Derby to be who hits the ball the furthest.
Yes.
Just not as many home runs as you can hit. Give everybody 10 outs, and I want the person that wins the Home Run Derby to be the person that hits the ball the furthest. Okay? If you hit it 480 feet, but you only hit 2 home runs, you shouldn't lose the Home Run Derby. It's all about hitting the ball the furthest, in my opinion. That's the best way to do the Home Run Derby, instead of, okay, let's see who can hit as many home runs in 2 minutes, or whatever the new rules they have this year. I wonder if he would.
I'm with you.
I wonder if he would have participated if it was not in his hometown. Thinking, okay, it's going to be a little bit unorthodox. I don't want to mess up my swing, because we've seen guys that after they participate in the Home Run Derby for the first time, their swing is messed up for a bit. I mean, he's on pace to be the first Royal to hit 320 or better at the plate since Mike Sweeney did in 2002. I mean, he's having a great year. I mean, he's an all-star. He's Home Run Derby. He's playing in his hometown. He's one of the young stars of the new group that is coming up in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it was not his hometown, would he have been excited to be in the home run derby. Like if he would have stepped up, like, because I look at the field that includes a local, Alec Boehm, who is not really a home run guy either. The home run derby field right now is very underwhelming.
That's what I thought.
And I'm afraid that this is going to go.
No wonder Pete Alonso is doing it again.
Well, I think Pete Alonso likes the home run derby.
Yeah.
He's one of the guys that is going to immediately opt in. He might not go to the All-Star game, but we've seen it. You can be in the home run derby without being in the All-Star game. Look at the attention towards the home run derby. Like go back to when it was in Kansas City and, Robinson Cano and the whole dust up with, people being upset about who was and wasn't in the home run derby and how we got excited about the home run derby. Now, fast forward 12 years later, is it going to become just like the slam dunk competition in the NBA All-Star game? It was cool at one time, and then it ran its course. Because looking at the field this year, and it's not complete, and it won't include Judge, and it won't include Ohtani, and it won't include Soto, is very underwhelming. I'll root for Boehm because it would be cool to see Alec win that, especially the kind of year that he's having. But I don't know if there's anybody I go, oh, man, I can't wait to watch them hit a 490-foot bomb. I can't wait for Sammy Sosa to hit with an aluminum bat at Coors Field, which they really missed out on opportunity.
Yes.
When they had McGuire and Sosa and the All-Star game was at Coors Field, just
give me a 600-footer.
Hey, just for a couple of swings, give both of those guys a chance to hit with an aluminum bat and see if they can hit it actually out of the ballpark or they can drill the scoreboard in left field.
Hit that mountain that was on top of it. Yeah. When I look at it and I never thought about this, but the things that make us gasp during the home run derby wasn't the amount of home runs they hit. It was the distance.
Yeah.
Because I started thinking about being a kid when they used to do this during the daytime, the day before the All-Star game. And you would watch these dudes hit moonshots into the upper deck at the Vet or at Three Rivers okay. And maybe then you keep it under 3.5 hours, that's the hard part. You're all in and you're watching it. But then when you get to the later rounds, it starts to drag and you're just trying to hold on because you've been watching the whole time and you want to see it to the end. But I kind of wonder, you said about the slam dunk competition. It might be where we're headed here with this home run derby. How do we fix the home run derby?
Do not bring back Chris Berman.
Yeah, true.
ESPN already does a poor job with baseball nowadays.
Indeed.
So,
rest in peace, baseball tonight.
Don brings up, poll question, what is your favorite home run contest? Mine is either McGuire versus the Green Monster or Josh Hamilton completely going off. Here's the thing about Hamilton at Yankee Stadium. He was crushing home runs, like deep drives into the upper deck in right field. But he did not win the home run derby. Even though he had some of the best moonshots, Justin Morneau won that home run derby in 2008 because he had more home runs. The home run derby should be who hits it the furthest.
Which was what we used to do when we were kids.
So you hit 10 home runs.
Did.
I should win because I hit a home run ball 490 feet and people went, what the?
Yeah. Your one home run was a moonshot. But hey, if you hit 37 and you tweak a back muscle. Okay.
But it also is a little bit of baseball where some might say that just the simple mammoth home run is not as impressive as it used to be. I'm telling you, if you see in person a home run that goes 475, 480, it's a titanic blast and you go, dang. But what would you rather, what impresses you more, a guy lighting up a radar gun at 103 or hitting a 400 and I think the longest home run in baseball this year is 454. I could be off on that. But a 450-foot home run.
I'm trying to think. The one I saw that was an absolute moonshot was McGuire in the Astrodome into the upper deck. And people remember the Astrodome. You didn't hit home runs into the upper deck there. It's not today.
Because it was because the lower section had an abundance of rows. And so it didn't, that overhang in the upper deck didn't come like way over the lower deck. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
A handful of people have hit one up there.
You could get it into the second deck. Like, for example, I'll use Target Field as an example. When anybody hits one up in left field into the second deck, I mean, that is a mammoth blast.
Mm-hmm.
But back to ESPN, because I made the mistake of watching the Red Sox and the Yankees the other night. Well, first, Red Sox and the Yankees actually played a game where I thought they had a flight to catch. They played 5 innings. Well, they played 5 innings Sunday night, and it was barely over an hour.
It was like the George Carlin thing about about his changes for baseball. F you, you're out. F you out. You got 1 pitch. 27 pitches, 27 batters. That's it.
Well, I mean, usually a Yankees-Red Sox game, especially on national TV, you're looking at an hour and you're only through 2 innings. But they were through 5. And I'm like, okay, I'll stick with this. You brought up baseball tonight. This is a fair question. And
Kids, we used to have it every night. It's great.
We did.
9 and 11.
And did ESPN forget about baseball?
Yes.
They made cutbacks, so that's why they don't have baseball tonight. They don't have the 30-minute highlight show.
Yeah.
MLB Network wraps up the night, and it's a really good show, and they repeat it throughout the night. And you can get a condensed version online if you want to watch all the highlights. But back in the day, kids, baseball tonight, you're right, 30 minutes, all highlights, great show.
Peter Gammons.
It would be there. They would do 2, wouldn't they? They do one leading into Sports
You would
Center.
have 9 to 10. You would have your Sports Center, which was good back then. And then you'd have baseball tonight again at 11, which would lead into the 12 o'clock Sports Center, which was always really good because you had Stan Verrett, Neil Everett. And then before that, you can go further back. You can have Rich and Stu, rest in peace. It was the best. But along those lines, you're bringing this up because I was thinking about this last night watching baseball. Remember, I just got MLB Network this year on our cable.
Yeah.
We have Hulu. It's changed everything because I actually think, okay, I can watch some sort of baseball every day, but the nostalgia in me misses baseball tonight because it was always so damn reliable, which is weird to say now because most people would hear that and think, no, how could it be reliable there? It was just different. You had people that cared about baseball talking about baseball.
Well, I mean, there are so many options out there for viewing, to watch. There are more games that are available.
Yes.
So there are more announcers. And, Fox is in the middle of this, not a dilemma, but wondering, will they get a Tom Brady effect? Like when they put Tom Brady on the game of the day, late afternoon on Sunday, are people going to tune in just for Tom Brady? I don't know. I think we've shifted where we tune in because of the game that is being played. Nobody has had that effect as an analyst since John Madden, where you tuned in to listen to John Madden. He didn't care what game. It seemed like he was always doing a Giants or a Cowboys game, but you tuned in for John Madden. Fox is wondering, will they get the effect of people will tune in just for Tom Brady? I actually think Tom Brady will be good.
I hope he's
Tom
good.
Brady.
I really do.
Tom Brady won't let himself fail.
True.
Okay, so he's working at it, and he knows people are wanting him to fail. So I believe that Tom Brady will be better than most think. Will he be over the top? Will he be Greg Olson? I don't think so. But he'll be better than going, oh, I can't wait for that guy to fail, because Tom Brady doesn't fail. He'll make sure that he doesn't fail in any aspect in his life as Tom Brady ever failed. Or if he has had any doubt, what happens to the recharge or the refresh? It seems like he's back on the same path.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll be fine. But John Miller and Joe Morgan, very polarizing. Joe Morgan is one of those guys that I went to the bathroom next to in a urinal at the College World Series on the press box level. They used to have a small bathroom right by the elevator. And, you had to wait your turn, and went in there, and somebody let Joe Morgan in. So Joe Morgan and I are next to each other. Guy had no time for small talk. I get it. But you know what? You're in Omaha. I just said hello, didn't say hello back. I know sometimes it's awkward if somebody is standing next to you in a urinal and they want to talk. You avoid them, okay? Sometimes Vince Neil is in the bathroom and you're like, hey, can I get a picture with you? And you're like, yeah.
Sure.
And then he goes, hey, why don't you include my girlfriend? And you're like, whoa, I don't think I'm going to fit in the picture because of those. But John Miller and Joe Morgan, when they were together, it was must watch. And it didn't matter the game. But they also made it feel like a big deal, whether it be the voices that were involved or the production. I'll give credit to ESPN. There are certain things they do really, really well because they have their number one production team and they make it feel like a big event. God bless us here in Omaha with the College World Series because ESPN makes it a big event. They pour a lot into that, and a 1:00 elimination game on a Monday seems like a big deal. But back to baseball on ESPN, it was a big deal. It was a huge deal. Didn't matter who was playing because John Miller was on the call and Joe Morgan made you feel something, whether it be good or bad. So it had some importance. But now I watch Sunday Night Baseball, and this is what I get with Sunday Night Baseball. They've changed who they're broadcasting to. They're not broadcasting to the baseball fan anymore. They're broadcasting to just the casual fan, forgetting that I'm tuning in on Sunday night to watch a baseball game because I'm a baseball fan. So give me baseball. Don't give me a podcast with the game as background noise. And that's what I feel like ESPN has. Now, Carl Ravitch, not John Miller. Eduardo Perez, nice guy. Does nothing for me. They didn't have David Cohn the other night. He had an illness, so he wasn't there. They brought him in on the phone. Why? They would rather have players mic'd up and talk to him during the game than actually talk about the game of baseball. And I might be an old, and that's where it's shifting.
I'm with you.
Where our sports are shifting, where the play-by-play is going to be more, and you really can't do this on radio, but on TV, it's more of a talk show. You have a talk show, and there's a game going on.
And you're seeing this happen even at the local level now with some people or some teams. And yeah, I'm with you. That's tough because for the baseball fan, Sunday Night Baseball, that was the point when you had John Miller and Joe Morgan. And it's funny, you say we just watched. Off the top of my head, these are just random games I remember. I don't remember the scores except the one, and you'll understand why. I remember it was a Chicago-Seattle game. Random game. Frank Thomas against Randy Johnson.
That is quite the random
game. But here's another one, and this is when you say John Miller and Joe Morgan on a Sunday night game, I think of the 0-1 Seattle-Cleveland game. It was 12-1 or something. Cleveland came back to win, and that was 114 win Seattle or whatever. However the hell many games they won in 0-1. But the point was, is you watch these games because I just felt like I needed to watch it. It was a big deal. It's Sunday Night Baseball. I just felt it was appointment television. I don't feel that anymore. I was trying to remember the last time I watched. Early in the season. But if there's a game on the MLB network or on Fox, yeah, sure. I'll dive, which is where I started thinking about this last night because I'm watching Cleveland play Detroit. Random game, but I loved it because it was a random game. And this is what we have now. 30 years ago, we had a Monday night game on ESPN, usually decent one, about 7 o'clock, might be a NL Central game or NL West game, 2 leagues or 2 divisions. And you don't have that anymore. I miss that. Well, I don't feel like old. I miss it.
I don't know if they know what their audience is or what they're looking for because, the way baseball is going right now, and regionally it's a juggernaut. Nationally, it's struggling a little bit, but regionally, it is still a juggernaut. In every single market that has a Major League Baseball team, more than likely, their regional ratings, if you can get the game.
Right.
If you're not in a market that's screwed by Bally's or whatever, and it's tough to, get your favorite team's game in your hometown. But regionally, it's a juggernaut. Nationally, it's got some challenges, and it's taken a step back. But I don't know what ESPN wants their audience to be and what they're looking for. And I kind of think, and I'm going to spin this back into a local feeling because I hear this when I say I'm not sure what ESPN wants to do with baseball. Do they want to make it a podcast with a game in the background, or do they want to make it 3 guys in the booth that are having a talk show that are talking baseball, and periodically you'll get baseball things that are going on in the stadium that they're actually at? It's kind of like the Nebraska spring game. Doing play-by-play for a spring game period is really difficult because there are so many players that don't normally play. Guys might be changing names. Usually the person that drops in isn't familiar with the team. So they look at a spotting chart, not I recognize that body. And you'll get some confusion on, certain numbers on each side of the ball. So doing the spring game is a little bit tough. But this is actually a really good discussion I had. It might have been with Damon on how to handle a spring game and what Nebraska fans want with that game. So I say ESPN doesn't know if they want to give you, the hardcore baseball fan, give you the nuts and bolts of what baseball is, or if they want to treat Sunday night like a talk show where 3 guys talk about what's going on in baseball, and then Castellanos, a fly ball to left field.
Him again.
I think they should treat the Nebraska spring game on television like a talk show. Talk about the team.
And this would make sense in that form. I agree.
Yes. But
especially if you're watching it or listening.
Talk about the team. Okay? Talk about all the elements of the team. You got a 2-hour window that is essentially an infomercial. And yeah, there's some play-by-play, but it's an exhibition for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So I say that surrounding the Nebraska spring game, and I will get the pushback of, no, I want it to be treated like a normal game in the fall. I'm like, no, it's not a normal game. It's a great opportunity to talk about the team, to talk about a bunch of different things. You already got all these interviews that are going on. It's not like you're treating it like a normal October Saturday of the nuts and bolts of the play-by-play. The Nebraska spring game should always be treated like a talk show. But you got to have people there that know the team.
Right.
You can't have, Joe and Jane that pop in and they get 30 minutes with the OC, the DC, and the head coach the day before the game, and they're like, "Yep, here we go."
I got it all known.
You get people on there and you get people talking.
He's just like Timmy Frazier. Who?
But if you're going to do, like if that's what ESPN wants to do with the sport of baseball, then
that's too bad.
Jimmy, it's changing.
I know.
Okay.
And I think I know where you're going with this.
On TV. Again, you can't do it on radio. We already kind of do it on radio, but it's more play-by-play than the other stuff.
It blends in well.
But on TV, I think we're going to go this way. If you're going to do that and you're ESPN, you got to have a better booth. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
I mean, that's at the end of the day, if that's where you're going, you got to have a better booth.
Maybe give me some people in there that will teach me some things, because that's my favorite. When you feel you know the game, and then you're watching a game, and the analyst or whoever might be talking about it, you feel educated. Like, damn, I thought I knew stuff, and I know nothing. But that's part of it. So I see what you're getting. You got to get a better booth and find a nice mix, and then okay. Because you're right. Unfortunately, this is where a lot of it's going. I know read a couple of years ago, the Red Sox were trying to make this shift in their booth as well to make it more of a, I don't think they lasted too long, rotating announcers, but they wanted it to be more of a sports talk format. And controversial because a lot of people like us, we don't like that. That's not what we were trained to do in play-by-play. But I guess if you get it right, could it be different? I don't know.
Well, I'm surprised we haven't seen in college football. ESPN, when they do their auxiliary broadcasts, whether it be, when they used to do the coach's room or some of those other things, they've gotten a good response. So much that I don't think they're ready to take in that sport, because people are pretty passionate about the product that they watch, is take that sport and turn a Georgia-Auburn game in late October into 4 guys just talking football, and there's very little play-by-play.
Mm-hmm. If you do that as an alternate cast, yeah, sure.
But I'm talking about the main one.
No, I know.
Yeah, I don't think they're in that sport. I don't think they're ready to go there yet. I think ESPN and baseball, they want to go there. They just don't have the people to pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
And they have basically said, all right, you people that are used to the regular broadcast of baseball on Sunday nights, we got nothing for you. Because it's background noise.
Yes. And back in the day, it was appointment television. And here's the other thing.
People you had involved.
Yeah.
People that were, you tuned in for John Miller.
And when they would do radio in the playoffs, it's fantastic.
And lucky the Giants fans, they get John Miller all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he sounds exactly the same.
Does a mean Vin Scully even to this day.
All right, 7:18. Nick apparently is on the way. We've loaded up the kid.
Yes, we're going to get
Reese is going to make his debut.
It's going to be mornings with Sharp and Handley, attorneys at law.
Mike says Tom's marriage failed.
Touché.
But don't you believe, though, that in Tom Brady 2.0 marriage that he'll be better?
Oh, yeah. He will upgrade at the position.
I'll give Mike. That might be the only thing that Brady has failed at.
And it probably eats him alive because he doesn't fail at things. It's how he's wired. Because they moved out Greg Olson, which was damn good.
I would, if I was CBS, I would find a way to trade Tony Romo for Greg Olson and make sure that Greg Olson has a seat in the number 1 analyst chair. Brady is very aware of people are waiting for him to fail. This ain't going to work out because he doesn't have He doesn't have that mentality. Have you not seen him since he left New England? He's a whole different guy.
Yeah.
Whether he got divorced, he's single and mingling.
He looks younger.
He's out on the beach playing catch with random people, shirtless. All the other stuff that he has done since he got to Florida and became a Florida man with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't think he'll be Greg Olsen level, but I think he'll be better than you think. And those people that are waiting at the doorstep to go, oh, Tom Brady's going to suck, and this is going to be great, and I'm going to watch him fail because I can't stand TB12. And you know he'll get a big help because Kevin Burkhardt is really good. I mean, an analyst sometimes can only be as good as the play-by-play guy. He'll get a good help there. That's a good introduction to it. But I think he'll be okay. I think he'll take his swings, and I think he will tell you stuff that you don't see from his perspective, and you'll go, guy has 6 rings, I can get it.
And if you're a football fan, would you rather he succeed at this or fail? I mean, yes, if he fails, you can talk about it and stuff like that. But if he succeeds, you're like, well, it's pretty good. All right. I'm kind of rooting for that. I want to see it work out. I feel bad for how Greg Olsen got done, but I do think eventually it will work out for him in some ways. And maybe you hinted at something there. I don't mean that exactly, but he's really damn good. Somebody will come for him and be like, you know what? You need to be our number one guy because you're legit.
Back. That's how this conversation started. All right, 7:21. Sam McEwen's going to join us here in a little bit. There's a lot of stuff going on. I haven't even mentioned there was another Pete tweet yesterday on the roster size. The Big Ten is advocating for more. College football may be headed for less. How does 110 sound? Which would mean 85 scholarships and then 15 plus 10, 25 walk-ons.
Big deal at Nebraska.
How would a practice squad work? We're already NFL light.
Yeah.
Why don't we go all in? Well, it's ridiculous to think you'd have 53 and then a practice squad. Never, ever in college football would you be able to do that. But what about having a practice squad in college football where they're not eligible to play, but they could be activated? We're already going down the path of this being the NFL. Why not do it in college football? But 110 looks like the number that is going to be settled on. Good or bad for Nebraska? And what is the leeway into phasing this in? Because unlike Colorado, there are some programs that do have a large roster. They're going to have to knock on somebody's door and go, grab your playbook. All of that and much more we'll get into with Sam McEwen, Brian Christopherson, Andy Kendy, all to join us on this Tuesday edition of Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. It's been a staple in Omaha. It's a staple in your wardrobe. It has become a staple in mine, and I'm talking about Lindley Clothing, Omaha's premier provider of men's fashion. Top-notch. I've told this before, and I'm like other men, not an easy body type to fit into most things. So when you walk in and you start looking around, and you're like, well, what's for me? That's where the fantastic customer service comes into play. John, Marlene, Terry, they will take care of you to find the right fit. They will go the extra mile. Let's say they don't have something in particular that you want. They will go out and find it for you. That's what sets them apart. The top-notch customer service, great energy in the entire store, great conversation, big sports fans. And it's not just suits. We talk about going there to get suits like Peter Millar and Bugatti. You know what? They also have sports wear. So you're thinking, you know what? I'm going to be nice. I'm going to be golfing at a bougie golf course this weekend. I want to look good. You can find your favorite sportswear at Lindley Clothing as well. And also, don't forget to check out Well Suited right next door. Just take the tunnel over. See for yourself how easy it is to shop for you or someone in your life. Lindley Clothing, Well Suited, the place to be to get you fitted. You men, that is. 132nd and West Dodge in the Linden Market. All right, welcome back in on a Tuesday, and welcome back from vacation, Sam McCune of the Omaha World Herald. Isn't it uncanny? We all go on vacation and something drops that is newsworthy. Good morning.
Good morning. Friday night at 6, too.
Yeah, there is. I said this yesterday, and probably in the moment when I saw the Pete Thamel tweet, nothing good happens on July 5th on a Friday at 5 p.m. That is not a good situation.
That's right. That's exactly the way it went down. And obviously, it was coming because you get another name the next day of Cooper's replacement, which means they didn't start making calls at 7 p.m. on Friday. So, it is what it is. July 5th is right after, obviously, the fiscal year at Nebraska ends June 30th. And July 1st, I think, was that week and, a holiday week. So I'm guessing, that whatever had happened, his resignation had probably been effective July 1st.
We will wait for something official today, but it looks like we're headed in that direction that John Butler will join the staff. So we all got to know Coop. We saw him in a year and a half with a room that has some talent in it, has some young talent, some promising talent, has some questions at a certain position. You move away from Cooper. You bring in a guy that's got a lengthy resume, most recently in the NFL.
Yeah.
Did Sam, as you've studied John Butler, did Nebraska upgrade or did they just get an older version of Evan Cooper? And I'm not saying that in a negative light, but I think you know what I'm hinting at.
Yeah, so I think what he can come in and do, and it's hard to say how long he'll be here, right? Like if he's the guy that you're not necessarily saying that here is your defensive backs coach for the next 11 years. Like you don't know that. So I think what he can come in and do is he can take the top guys, the top 6, 7 guys, and make them better because he can bring stuff that he has used in the NFL, and he can very quickly improve just certain aspects. Not that Evan Cooper wasn't going to do that too. But, I think Butler's going to come in and go, okay, I've got some guys that could probably play in the NFL a little bit. And so he can do that. What Cooper was also doing, I think, was coming up with sort of a broad, grand roster management plan or helping Rule do that. And obviously the roster limit thing, which, kind of came down yesterday, affects that a little bit. But also, I don't know that Butler's going to come in and be like, all right, so how do I figure out which of these 15 young guys I'm going to call up? Like, they have a very large room, and I'm guessing he'll get an assistant of some sort that can work with the younger guys. And, Nebraska's now just going to have to work through. The roster limit thing isn't set yet, but it does appear that it's going to be lower than, say, 130. It could be down to 110. And knowing that, I think you're just kind of accepting the fact that some of the guys that are in that room are not going to be there in a couple of years because it's just going to be hard to keep that many defensive backs on the roster. So I think Butler can come in and very, very quickly address Gifford and Singleton and Hill and Sierra Wright and, all those guys. He can make those guys better pretty quick.
What can he do as everybody's trying to get to know him, his focus, and I believe this, his focus needs to be on 24, but, we don't know how long he'll be here. What will it do for recruiting? They got a couple of defensive back targets that are considering Nebraska and have Nebraska either in the 1 slot or the 2 slot. How do you think that impacts like a Bryson Weber who is getting ready to decide where he's going to go play college?
Might give him some pause. Yeah, we got to be honest about that and just admit that, he took many visits, and he kind of kept that quiet until, at the end, he's like, well, actually, I took 5 visits. He didn't do a ton of interviews about some of the other visits he took. So he might, that might give him some pause. He might decide to do something else and go to a different school. I'll be candid. The roster limit thing is going to present itself pretty clearly that there may come a point where Nebraska's like, you know what, we have pretty good guys in the program now, and it would not be judicious of us to bring in a bunch more because we're not going to be able to accommodate all these guys in 4 years. And I do think there'll be a phase-in process that gives Nebraska more time, but it does. That's the room that has the most players. So that'll be something I'm sure they're working through. Weber would be a great addition to the program, obviously, but we'll see. And I think Butler's probably going to be a good recruiter. He may appeal to someone that Cooper didn't, and vice versa. You just never know. But again, the question becomes: okay, he's going to come in here. He'll make a decent salary. He's going to be here as an elite technician and all those things. He'll probably be able to give some insight to Tony White. And then, after the season, what is Tony White's job status? And is he going to go for a head coaching job? And if he does, is your defensive coordinator already on the staff, or do you want to go? Do you want to go with somebody else? Like all those questions will come up. So I think Butler's for sure a 1-year deal, and we'll just see where it goes from there.
Have you been able to connect dots? I know Sean Padden has a past history, but we're going way back. You've been able to connect any other dots on, other than he was available? I mean, it's not easy. Middle of June, you're looking for a guy to come be a full-time defensive back coach. Have you connected any other dots on why Rule and Butler intersected?
I think the relationship that was kept with Padden might obviously be there. If they've had some time to chew over this, which it appears they've had, if he's the finalist, then I'm guessing Rule is able to kind of check some of his contacts and work through some names. I don't think Butler was the only guy that they were looking at. So, I think he's got a really, really good network of people that he knows and he has worked with over the years. I wouldn't be remotely surprised if he and Bill O'Brien had traveled the same circles in many contexts. Obviously O'Brien coached at Penn State. Rule was there, played there. Rule was around was around Temple at the time that O'Brien was at Penn State, I think. And so, that's a name. The guys from Philadelphia. I think that's probably just a name that Matt Rule knew was available. And again, I just don't think Matt Rule is going to, what's the right word? He's not going to settle for not a really, really good coach. So one of the things that he does is he wants to know when he hires somebody, all right, tell me what your drill tape is. You got to tell me what you do with the players. So, even though I think Evan Cooper was maybe their second best recruiter or third best recruiter, he was not hired for his recruiting acumen. He was hired he's a really good coach. And so Rule would not hire someone who wasn't really good at that portion of it. So I'm sure he respects what Butler has accomplished with the Bills.
Sam McCune of the World Herald joining us. Let's dive into something you brought up. And there's a lot of, there's still a lot of unknown about the roster limit, but I think we're getting more answers to our questions. Let me first start here. What do you think the phase-in will be like? Because while Colorado can't even get to 80 total in their program, Nebraska's sitting at about 140 right now. There would be 30 players that you would have to say, hey, let us help you find a new address. What do you think the phase-in will be like?
Well, there's an additional question that I have that, Pete Thamel's quote, his tweet doesn't need to answer my question. It's 10 for injury. Is there an injury reserve list that allows you to keep actually 120? And in any given year, I think there's 10 guys that are not playing because they're hurt. And they're most of them redshirt, most of them are young. But somebody got in an accident, he redshirted, and somebody got shoulder surgery when he got here, and he redshirted. And you weren't expecting them to play anyway. But when you come to roster limits, that stuff matters because that means you can keep them on the roster as an injured player, and you can kind of move guys around because people would be surprised sometimes when people get to college, they actually got to get surgery to fix stuff. So I'm curious about that. Is this a 110 plus 10 for a reserve list, an injury reserve list, or is it 110 and that includes all the injured guys? And any given year, that's going to be 10 to 15 guys. So what you're dealing with is something different. So I'm curious about that. And then I think the phase-in will probably be multi-year. So 2025 is when it would begin, which is next year. But if it's multi-year, then you're looking at 27, 26, 27. And that would give it, quite frankly, it would just give Nebraska time to work through some of the guys on their roster who are redshirt freshmen. The top end of this roster is not huge. They went with a lot of developmental guys, as you know. So we'll have to see what somewhere in there they're going to have to shed some of their roster size. And I'm guessing, this is just a guess, that it will be at the positions where they have the most players, and that includes defensive back. So we'll see what happens.
They got 24 scholarship guys there.
Yeah,
a
lot.
You kind of alluded to this, but it's not the phrase. Do you think we could be looking at, and Rule has brought this up, a practice squad? Kind of what you were talking about, an injured reserve, but a real practice squad where you could activate guys week by week to fill a void.
That could be what you have in place of the injured list. I think the retort back will be, well, a 3 deep on a college roster is 66 players.
Yep.
Everything above that is practice squad. And
that's true.
I don't know. I don't think there'd be anything wrong with a practice squad. The question becomes, okay, are you calling guys up from it during the season and they're playing like that?
Yeah.
Then that's not really a practice squad. That's just the NFL version of a practice squad. And 110 men builds that in. I think an injured reserve list would be, so really what you do is you have a 120 man roster, and at all given times you reserve 10 spots for injured guys. So your active roster is 110, and you have an injured reserve roster of 10. And I think that's realistic. A practice squad would be even better. I just wonder if they're basically saying, well, that's kind of baked into the cake. Yeah. And I don't know. I think Matt Rule can do this with 110 guys. I do. I understand their theory and why they were doing what they were doing. I've written this. I thought they were going to have quite a bit of attrition in the next year, off season or two anyway, because a lot of the guys they brought in were not true walk-ons. They weren't. They were NIL and kind guys that, to be honest with you, guys that want to play a lot of football, and they're not just here to, they're not even from here. And guys that are going to leave in 2 years when they realize they're not going to play. So I think they're going to be able to lose some guys naturally, because guys are just going to be like, well, I'm going to leave because I'm not going to play, not because they have to be cut due to roster.
What was your reaction on Sunday when David Sanders dropped his 4 and one Clemson, who that's their number one target, out, and Nebraska is in the Final Four for a 5-star offensive tackle? What was your reaction?
Yeah, Donovan Rail is a good recruiter. Yep. He has shown time and again that once a cycle, he will go and get one of the best players in the country. And so he did that with Grant Bricks last year. And it's entirely possible that, he's deciding on August 17th, which Nebraska can't do anything about its record. Nope. So my hunch is that he's probably going somewhere else, but I don't know that for sure. And the reality is Nebraska's, put itself in position, and Rail is a good recruiter. He's a good recruiter. The linemen resonate with him. They like him. You talk to the linemen and they like him. And so I think, the World Herald's done 2 or 3 stories on Grant Bricks, and I wouldn't describe Grant Bricks I would describe him as sort of an intellectual.
Yeah.
And I would describe Donovan Raiola that way too. It doesn't come off in the press conferences, and that's an area where I think he has improved and can continue to, because the guy is not the press conference. He's an intellectual, and so he can react to the kids on on the tough level, but also on the, I read all of these books about motivation and about a person's whole, the whole person, spirit, emotion, all that stuff. And so he's able to incorporate more than people realize. And I think it's made him a very effective recruiter, and I think the parents resonate with him and all that. So Nebraska's got a shot. Naturally, the other school's name there, it's a little bit of a tough deal, but you never know. You just never know.
So you followed this for a long time, and now that NIL is involved, and I look at a guy like David Sanders, and they had him on campus, and he came with his family. I mean, family is a big deal, and he's got a large family. I mean, he must have had 10 to 12 family members that came on his visit. And that's kind of one thing that keeps, I think, Nebraska in the game is they stress family. But this is also a kid that's being courted by Ohio State, Georgia, and Tennessee. Do you think that when you are, and Nebraska's swung for the fences here in this last cycle. They don't have a good batting average, but they're not settling. They're trying. Yeah. Do you think, though, when you're pursuing a guy like David Sanders and a high 4-star or a 5-star, that the traditional recruiting is a lost art, that you can't go that route anymore? You can go that route, but you better have a suitcase full of cash with you?
Right. I do think there's something to be said for how you compensate from an NIL perspective. And I think on a case-by-case basis, Nebraska can be competitive there. I don't know. I think it can be harder to be volume competitive. So Ohio State is volume. They have the best roster in college football this year, and they may have the best recruiting class, and so they have volume. But on a case-by-case basis, I think it's kind of like an agent who has a couple of very big clients. And I think Nebraska can go after, not 35 stars, but they can identify 2 or 3, and they have done that. Sanders is one, Michael Terry's another. Now, in that case, Nebraska's up against Texas and Oregon, and I don't know if that's gonna work for them. I don't. It's hard to say what'll happen there until you know what Dylan Raiola can do as a passer. But I think they've got a chance with Sanders. I think Donovan Raiola is one of their best recruiters. But we'll just have to see how that all turns out. I think they've got a chance to compete on a case-by-case basis. Ohio State and Georgia are going to be tough to beat in any context. They're very good at what they do, but Nebraska's done it once with Dylan, and now they're going to try to do it again with David Sanders. We'll see.
We'll get you out on this. Sammy Kuhn of the World Herald joining us. Because yesterday, the announcement of Nebraska in 1890, just a reiteration that we are in it to win it. But then I look at Phil Knight wants a championship at Oregon before he passes away, and Mr. Nike is 86, and it seems like Oregon has an unlimited amount of cash. And Nebraska doesn't have an abundance of deep-pocketed donors who, it doesn't matter, they just write the check. Do you think that, and this can be a Nebraska thing, an Oregon thing, an Ohio State thing, the big boys of college football, that there isn't an unlimited amount of cash for NIL?
I don't think it's unlimited, no. I think at some point, short of people who view themselves as angel investors, which Phil Knight does, there are going to be people that are like, no, what? If you guys are sharing revenue with them, why am I giving money again? I'm confused.
Yeah.
And that's going to come up eventually. And now, when you get a new coach, that kind of stuff kind of renews, and it's like, all right, we'll go after and support this guy, and we'll give him a fighting chance. But there's that's part of what'll happen. Is the money will not be at Oklahoma, for example. The money will not be finite for Brent Venables if he's winning 7 or 8 games a year. It won't be infinite. Like, it'll end. And they'll be like, well, we're not going to give you all this money because you're not winning games with it. So, I think that's part of it. And I do think at some point someone will look around and say, I think the revenue sharing is helping these kids out, and so why are we doing this now? And that'll be a reasonable question that some ask. NIL's not going anywhere. I think it's going to stick around, but how much the collective can do in football after revenue sharing kicks into place, it kind of depends on the kind of athletes you're going after. So I don't know. They certainly could help the men's basketball team, and I think they have. To be clear, I think 1890 has helped the Nebraska men's basketball team to get some decent transfers. But they could help them even more. I mean, for Nebraska to get over the top in hoops, they're going to need an elite transfer, the kind of player that, I don't know, Indiana's getting, a couple other teams, Kansas is getting. A couple guys that Kansas was able to land that Nebraska would have loved getting, and they didn't get them because they can't afford them, or Kansas paid more.
I agree. Sam, as always, great to have you back. We're getting closer. A couple more weeks to Indy. Have a great week. We'll see what this week holds in Nebraska football drama.
We sure will. Take care.
That's Sam McCune of the World Herald. You win and you can turn on the faucet. You agree with that, Jimmy?
Winning and turning on the faucet, yes.
Okay, so it adds just another layer that's already well known about this upcoming season when it comes to NIL. So I look at Oregon. Oregon also, I don't want to lose sight. I'm not oblivious to traditional recruiting is being altered. Like build relationships, stress family, show what you have, show your depth chart, that we're going to take care of you post-football life. We're going to do all those things for you. Because everybody kind of has the same spiel. But the traditional recruiting now comes with a suitcase full of cash if you want to play the big boy game. But you also have to have a coach that's comfortable in the NIL world and understanding it and saying, okay, I am old school. I want to recruit a kid that wants to be here, that loves playing football, not just because they like to be recruited. I want that guy. But I'm not oblivious to the fact of if I'm after a guy and there's a chance that we could get him, but we have to separate ourselves, we can dip into NIL. Dan Lanning is in a great spot right now at Oregon. But Dan Lanning is relentless. So they do have a lot of money at Oregon, and they are spending a lot of money, and they have a deep-pocketed donor who is willing to write checks and not think twice about it in Phil Knight. He's got an unlimited amount of money, and he wants a championship. Nebraska really doesn't have that person. Now, they have a few donors that will write checks and not think twice about it. But I think around here, and maybe it's a Midwestern thing, that you want a return on your investment. Because I thought about this yesterday. Let's say Nebraska is in a good spot to get a 5-star offensive tackle who could be a game changer that would fit in the window of another 5-star quarterback. Would I be willing to step up? And somebody says, "Hey, we're gonna need a little bit of money, but we have a good shot." But okay, what if you don't get it? What if he says no? And you're like, man, what's my return on investment? When do I get that money back? So you balance the NIL with a guy like Dan Lanning and using him as an example because Oregon's on a heater, just like Ohio State is. I mean, Ohio State right now, Ohio State and Oregon are separating themselves because they have guys that are relentless when it comes to recruiting. Ohio State has a good head coach in recruiting, not a great one, but they have a staff that is really, really good recruiters. Oregon's number one recruiter is their head coach, and they are relentless, and they are going after something they want. So if you're Nebraska and you're like, you know what, we don't always want to stay in tier number 2, we want to inch into tier 1, what sets us apart? Because to get up there, you're already going to be winning, and you're going to start sending guys to the NFL. What sets you apart? Is it going to be, at the end of the day, cash? And are you comfortable with that?
And a lot of coaches are learning on the fly.
And as a fan who like, oh, God, yeah, you want to get that? Coach, I'll write you even a $10,000 check. But if you don't get that guy, do you go, okay. I might wait. I might choose to go some other route. It's a discussion we've had now 3 years in NIL of understanding how to use it, the comfortability of using it.
What do you say, reward and retention? Some coaches do that. I like that. But unfortunately, this goes against what you're asking.
I ask you. You're not a Nebraska season ticket holder. You're a KU season ticket holder. Would you rather put, and then there's no guarantee on one of these.
Right.
Put money into to get a 5-star wide receiver, offensive tackle, quarterback, and there's no guarantee. You're one of 4. There's 4 hats lined up. No one says it's going to be you. Or would you rather put money in to retain a guy, to keep your quarterback, instead of him either going elsewhere or going, well, I'm not going to say the pros, because if he's a really good quarterback,
right,
that's going to take care of itself. But of rewarding for a great season and staying at KU.
So you're asking this, the scenario I put in is, say, the Jalen Daniels thing. If insert school A wants to buy him, then how can you navigate that? Well, the answer is to pay. So to answer your question, yes, at that point, assuming you're one of those people that are well-to-do, then yes, you are going to donate to try and retain. Now, the other side is like, well, to get the guy, it's a different conversation. But here's the thing. If you don't get the guy, so you're paying for the recruit. So you're in this scenario, you're asking me, I'm basically pitching in, but I'm not guaranteed he's going to pick my hat. However, I have donated. So if he doesn't pick, then the next recruit, maybe then it goes to that. However, then let's turn it to Nebraska. Let's say after 1 year, Dylan Raiola, someone tries to poach him, and I'm Mr. Rich Donor. Absolutely. But like, we can't lose him. What do we need to do? So there's your answer. Yes. At that point is, coach, how can I help? We cannot lose them. I know you can't lose them. I want to pitch in.
Never stops. Recruiting.
It never stops.
And now with NIL involved, there's another aspect. Recruiting never stops. And you're going to see this in the Big Ten. You're bringing in a guy that is recruiting crazy. Ohio State's recruiting well. Michigan had a big win yesterday on the recruiting trail. It never stops. What it is reiterating is, and Sam's absolutely right. If you want to talk about, like, I wish we could go back and replay the shows of the morning when Matt Rule retained Donnie Raiola. I
remember.
Yeah, you were here. The anger of people like, oh, Rule's already taken an L and even coached a game.
And many people said trust.
Well,
see what happens.
So Donnie was paired with the wrong head coach.
Right.
Okay. And Scott somehow, just in terms of a teaching and letting someone grow, there wasn't that avenue. And that's where Rule's got a good eye for evaluation on assistant coaches, is see something, they talk the same language. From where Donnie was coming up on about 3 years ago to where he is now as one of their ace recruiters is one of the better comeback stories. But you need more of those on your staff. But more this whole stretch of the new Big Ten in recruiting and going after high-profile recruits, your head coach has to be even better at recruiting.
And for some, this is why some have gotten out of it. Not because they can't do it. They just don't want to do it.
Wears you out.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
And you know this being in basketball, I do too. It never ends. They even say it's the Wild West because we're figuring out as we go. But we know we have to play the game or else.
And there are coaches that, the head coach should be at the top of the food chain when it comes to recruiting, but sometimes they don't have that ability and they got a hammer. But the new Big Ten, your head coach has to be your best recruiter. And then when Nebraska looking at how do I compete against these other schools that may have more cash available to them, what sets us apart? They may have 15 at quarterback, which sets them apart, which just adds another layer to win this year, turn the faucet on slowly, win more, turn the faucet even more, win again, and then the faucet is on full throttle. And there'll be people that will come and support you that have gone away for a while, but now they've got tangible results to go, okay, I see it. Here you go. What can I do to help out?
And that's what Rule sees. He sees a fan base that's starving. Just give us just a hint of it, and we're all in. Whatever you need, we're with you.
But can they wait that long? They're trying the other approach of, we need things now before we have those results.
Trust us. Yeah. Let's go get them, and you'll see.
That's a great word to use. All right, we got to take a quick break. Are we going to get reconnected? Nick's had a wild morning, so we apologize.
Yeah.
I mean, we say we're sorry for Nick. Nick's had a wild morning.
We legitimately are sorry for Nick.
Yeah, was going to. We had some technical difficulties in the home studio in Bennington.
They were halfway here,
and his son, a little 3-year-old Reese, bringing him in, and
a little hungover.
Reese had a little accident, so Nick had to make a U-turn. So we'll see.
I did tell him. I think we have people on it. I think we should be able to make it work.
That's what they all say.
And
Jimmy.
I just jinxed it.
Yes. All right, quick break. A little bit later, Brian Christopherson, Andy Kendy, as we roll till 10 on a Tuesday edition of Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Hello. Can you hear me, Jimmy? Or anybody? Can anybody hear me? Is anybody there? Perfect. Thank you, Jimmy.
All right, as we wrap up this hour, been quite the journey for 2 hours on a Tuesday.
It has, but I think we're okay.
What?
I shouldn't have said that again. I need to stop jinxing things.
I don't see Nick on TV.
Well, no, I think he's getting settled before all that stuff.
Okay.
So no, we don't have that yet. And if you know, he's having to take care of some things. But I would think if everything gets settled, we should have him before the end of the show, and we have troubleshooted the problem. So big shout out to Nick Grimm, who you heard on the stream from the home office, just getting in and doing some StreamYard maintenance.
Nick was on the show?
Yeah.
Well,
he wasn't on the show. Yeah, he was on cue. So Jim, if you heard somebody saying thank you, Jimmy, that's who that was. And thank you to Nick Grimm.
So the Big 12 Media Days are starting in Vegas today, where it's going to be 120 degrees, and the Big 12 would like to embrace Vegas. I wonder how soon before the Big 10 makes a move into Vegas.
You know they're thinking about it.
They already have a bowl game. They already participate in a bowl game. But who will be named on the All Big 12 preseason player list at quarterback? Will it be Shedeur Sanders or, going into his 7th year, Cam Rising, who has more on his resume in terms of winning than Sanders does?
Yeah. He played with Jamal Anderson at Utah.
Rising isn't going to the NFL. Shedeur Sanders could be one of the top quarterbacks taken. Here's the other part of Cam Rising. Do you know? I'm gonna finish this hour by blowing your mind with a couple of things I stumbled upon. I'm a big Utah fan. I think how they handle expectations, because they are the prohibitive favorite. Utah, Kansas State are the two top teams atop the Big 12. Is that Cam Rising is older than Brock Purdy. He is also older than Trevor Lawrence. He's going into his 7th year of
Kenny
college
Dillingham.
football. Older than those two NFL quarterbacks. And speaking of NFL quarterbacks, has this been brought up before? Maybe it has, and maybe it was right after the 2016 season. Because I'm doing a list of quarterbacks that Nebraska is going to face in the 2024, and Shedeur Sanders is up there,
and he's good. He is.
I mean, Will Howard at Ohio State. There's going to be some interesting quarterbacks along the way, but there is not an abundance of quarterbacks where you go, oh boy, Van Dyke at Wisconsin, Cade McNamara at Iowa, Mason Miller, not Mason Miller.
Wow, you can do everything.
I got the A's closer on my brain. Riley Moss. No, Riley, whatever the quarterback at USC is. Hello.
That says everything.
Did you know in 2016 that Nebraska faced, these guys actually played in games against Nebraska? Josh Allen.
I remember.
You remember who intercepted him? Nate Gary. Flipped the ball in his face.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert.
I remember that as well.
David Blau, who got to play in the NFL.
David Blau.
C.J. Beathard started for Iowa.
Yeah.
Did play with the Niners. Joe Burrow in a backup role in the 62-3 win by Ohio State over Nebraska. And I think he came into the game and went either 5 for 5 or 5 for 6. And Dobbs from Tennessee in the bowl game that year.
And Dobbs is pretty good.
Dobbs,
hard to believe, was that long ago.
He was really good that day.
Yeah.
So there's your random fact of
That's a random fact.
the day.
What about Joe Burrow?
But here's the other, Shedeur Sanders is with his dad, so get ready for a lot of Dion today. It's his first time he's been in a big media event, so it could be wild. And he's just getting back from Miami, just got off the yacht. He's probably going to find out that his team is 10th or 11th in the preseason poll. And how will he react to that?
Say, out of how many teams?
There's a lot of stuff going on. People, have questions about the roster, about bankruptcy. Did you see in the video game released yesterday of the celebrations? His son is in there. The Show the Ice celebration. What do you think? What do you think the tone would be in Memorial Stadium on a September Saturday night if Shedeur Sanders scores and into the North or South Stadium he does his Show the Ice celebration?
Oh, that'll stir. There's a lot of things there. If that happens, obviously he has scored, so that is to be frowned upon, because I could see, I have nothing to back this up, this is just what I was thinking of while listening to Sam, I could see the Nebraska defense really having sort of a field day with him, not because Shador's not good. I think he is really good. I think he would be a worthy pick to be the quarterback picked in the not the Pac-12, in the Big 12 over Cam Rising. But the defense is going to be preparing for that for months. And what if they do shut him down? But if he does do that celebration there, let's just say the crowd will get just a little bit more angry, and it'll be an angry crowd that night.
He also I would love to hear his podium session because he got into a bizarre back and forth with Cam Ward of Miami over the weekend.
Not good. He's going to be perfect in the NFL. Perfect.
That is Big 12 Media Days today.
In Las Vegas, of course.
We got to take a quick break. We'll come back. I'm not sure if we'll have Nick. We will have Brian Christopherson and Andy Kendy a little bit later. Plus, we'll get to our discussion about NIL and Nebraska competing. A couple of really good emails that we will dive into. Also, more on the 1890. So it's a stretch where Nebraska, the people running Nebraska, have taken the personal feelings out of it, and they're doing it for the brand. Isn't that a line from Yellowstone? It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. It's halftime. It's brought to you by our good friends at Omaha Whiskey Fest 2024, coming up at the end of September at Hilton, Omaha, the largest celebration of whiskey in the region. Now that the NBA hoophead is not on the show this morning, at least for the next 15 minutes, did you watch any Summer League ball last night? Because I got questions.
Actually, I did not, but I did the night before. So I have been all in on the Summer League, but yeah, not last night. But I am excited for your questions.
So Zach Edey, for the first time in his probably basketball career, was asked to tuck in his jersey. Seriously, at Purdue, he never tucked in his jersey. I don't know if it really wasn't long enough. It was like an untucked shirt. You ever bought an untucked shirt?
I almost had. They said they're very good. I don't know if it's legit if you can wear it untucked or anything like that. No.
I have a couple of untucked shirts. If you have if your belly's a little bit bigger, it doesn't fit as well.
Okay.
But it's a good brand of shirt, and of course, I don't like tucking things in.
Well, right.
I know the awkwardness of you pull the shirt out and you got the belt and you got the little boiler hanging over.
Yeah, no.
But Zach Edey always wore a shirt that seemed like it was an untucked shirt. You couldn't tuck it in. There was nothing left of it. Okay, on a 7'3" guy, it went all the way down, to his waist. So he never had to have a jersey that he was told to tuck in. Last night I saw twice during the Memphis game that he was told to tuck in his jersey. First time ever. I think he's probably been asked to tuck in his jersey. So they had to stop the game.
We wear hats and sleeves at this level, son.
It's Summer League. It's Summer League. It's Summer League. He actually looked pretty good.
Good.
14 points, 15 rebounds, blocked 5 shots. Him and Ja playing together with the screens that Edey will set. They could have something there.
Well,
he also
Steven Adams, who knows if he's going to be back to his normal. So he could play that role.
Well, they'll have to get used to playing with a true post player.
Yeah.
And he'll have to get used to, in college they could dump it down into the lane and he would spin around a guy and it would end up as a dunk or, an in-close shot. So last night I noticed that he would kick things back out and they would take threes. But that's not what caught me last night. If you watch the game from Utah, because they're in Sacramento, San Francisco, Utah, and then they go to Vegas.
Yeah.
The camera angle was another funky camera angle last night.
And I did read about that on the Twitter. So
it was not like the Copa at Arrowhead last Monday.
It was like Sun Devil Stadium. You're getting the shot from the moon.
Yeah, that's what?
Before they redid the TV deck.
I forgot about that. Like always at Sun Devil Stadium, you were so high in the air. Good one. We need to add that to terrible camera angles. But I think last night, so they were showing basically the NBA 2K angle.
Oh, nice.
Where they were off to the side and it almost looked like a drone was, I think they were experimenting because it was not ESPN's production. I think it was the Jazz's production, but it looked like they were experimenting with how they're going to cover hockey. Like how the Jazz and the owner of the Jazz also owns the Utah Hockey Club. So the camera...
Which is their name, by the way.
Yes. And then it'll be the Yetis.
Does it come with a minivan or an SUV and a mom?
I mean, look, it worked out well for Washington, right? In football?
Exactly. They should have kept it. Long live the WFT.
But I was trying to figure out when I first tuned in last night, they had the wonky camera angle.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went online and people that know in Utah said, yes, they're using the Summer League to experiment and find out if that's a camera angle they're going to use for hockey, where they have it set up in the Delta Center.
That's fair. I would do the same thing. Might as well find out. Yeah, I'll have to watch some of this tonight. Last night was the one night I didn't watch any of it because I see as the years have gone on, I like me some Summer League, especially when they go out to Vegas. I would actually go out and watch some of that. And it really has grown in the
next
past.
year will be the year to go when Cooper Flagg is playing in the Summer League. He'll be the number 1 pick. He's playing with the U.S. national team.
Mm.
He's getting all these rave reviews. Kid doesn't even turn 18 until, I think, December. So he'll be one and done at Duke, and then he'll be the number 1 pick. Next year will be the year. Next year is a much better year to go out to the Summer League if you've never been than this year. Yeah, you can go watch Bronny, but I mean, you're going to get enough of his coverage, whether he's playing or not, coming up
the other guys
during the season. John writes into the Equitable Bank inbox.
Hi, John.
So yesterday, let me just bring people up to speed. If you did not hear what happened yesterday, so Nebraska's athletic department announced that their partnership with 1890 which is the collective. But this is the recognized official collective of Husker athletics. There have been other smaller ones, but none that have as backed as well as 1890. So 1890 is the collective for Nebraska. And it also came out yesterday with it. You have a decision as a donor, as a season ticket holder. You can have part of your contribution be tax deductible. You can either get points, the Husker Fund points, which if you're a season ticket holder, you're donating to 1890 to get the hell out of the North or South Stadium to try and get better seats. So there is a dynamic
win-win
there, but it's a win-win because Nebraska is starting to act like their brand. They have a solid brand, and it's still solid despite not winning, not going to a bowl game for 7 years, but it's a solid brand. It's still known and recognized nationally. When you put it out there, people consume it, people buy the tickets, people watch it, people buy the gear, people talk about Nebraska. It's amazing. They haven't done anything on the football field in 7 years. Haven't been to a bowl game in 7 years. But finally, they're starting to act like their brand. And this was just a reiteration of the partnership that the athletic department has with their collective, which they have put all personal feelings aside because the guy that's in charge doesn't know the people from 1890. Trev got sideways with Matt Davidson, and he had feelings about where the NIL was going and what control Nebraska would have over it. So the personal feelings got in the way of just being professional and realizing that it is for the good of the brand, that you have to play this game, whether you're opposed to it or not. This is the current landscape of college athletics. You got to play the game. So you got to embrace it. Even though you might be gritting your teeth, you got to embrace it. Trev didn't want to do that. Trev let personal feelings get in the way. So you have a new athletic director comes in that understands the roadmap for NIL and says, we've all got to play along. Whether I like your political background or you're not, we all have to play along because at the end of the day, we're in it for one thing, and that is for Nebraska to be successful and also to be able to compete so that you can compete with the Oregons and the Ohio States and the other places that are full of cash. And you go, man, we got a pretty good brand, but what are we missing? So that aligned yesterday. John writes in to the Equitable Bank inbox. When is it time for Matt Davidson to move on from 1890? I can't believe that his presence is not hurting donations. Fair or not, he is a big part of getting Frost here and is perceived as a big part of the failure. Matty D is a polarizing guy. There is no doubt about that. From his time playing football at Nebraska to post to being in the football office to his time with Scott to making the transition out of the football office, out of the booth, and into 1890, he's very polarizing. The one thing that Matt does really well is fundraising. And I think this was in the release yesterday. He has kind of moved away from the face or the CEO of 1890, and he is in his role as a fundraiser. And that is in his wheelhouse. He does a really good job of raising money. When you are the face and people are like, nope, bad, nothing but bad feelings, that's tough. But he does a good job of explaining NIL and getting in the right people. So that's perfect for him.
Yeah, he's great at what he does.
And, one of the best things that Troy Dannon could have done, and this may have helped along the way, is he embraced it right away. Because Trev was not going to embrace the current setup. He knew it was important, but was not going to let it have the kind of power that, quite frankly, 1890 has power now. They are in lockstep with the athletic department. Where the athletic department can say, hey, can you do this? And they're like, yes. Instead of 1890 suggests something and the athletic department goes, I'll get back to you.
So you can't have that.
No, that's not going to happen. No, because you got to eliminate roadblocks along the way. And hey, Trev did a lot of good things, but Trev also made things personal. And it wasn't always against you. And past history. You remove those roadblocks because you have somebody that doesn't know anybody.
Yeah.
And they may have feelings.
Nebraska winning, that's personal.
But they're also smart. They're also smart. Why are we doing this to ourselves? We're already in a state of only 1.9 million. We got an uphill battle. Why handcuff us Instead of we've got a family that is fronting this, that wants to see Nebraska be successful. We want to be successful. How do we get a marriage together? Now it's how do you get fans involved that understand it, that are like, you know what? I'll write you a check. I don't have unlimited funds, but I will dip in and I will help you. It would almost be if they could pull off, I don't know, that I'm more of a retain and reward. But it's almost like if Nebraska football or Nebraska basketball, Sam was mentioning this earlier, if they could pull off a big-time recruit, a Michael Terry or a David Sanders in the middle of August, which I'll pay attention to. I think Tennessee's probably in a good spot, but I'm going to pay attention to see how this unfolds because Nebraska is at least in the room, which is a tribute, I think, to Donnie Raiola, but also to Matt Rule. I think this is a Matt Rule thing. But it's almost, if Nebraska could pull off a recruit, instead of the discussion of, well, they lost this guy because they wouldn't come up with cash, if they could get a big-time recruit and they leak it out there that the reason that put us over the top is because we won a battle with a suitcase. Instead of, we won a battle because of traditional recruiting. If you're trying to get people engaged about your NIL, and when it comes to recruiting, and we look around the country and we know that a guy's getting $2 million or getting $1 million, talking basketball,
right?
Or you're not getting a linebacker because that school was willing to pay more, and that family asked for more, and that school said, no problem. If you could see that Nebraska won a recruiting battle because of the cash that was involved, don't you think you might be more likely to step up to the plate and say, oh, okay?
Because now you see it working. You see results. Okay.
That's your
I'm in.
That's your return on investment.
How can I help? Every little bit helps, which is a lot of what they talk about with these collectives. Is, yes, they go for the big fish, but it's a lot of the little donors that actually make the difference because that adds up in the pool.
I mean, again, there's no guarantee.
No.
If someone calls you up today and they're like, hey, I know you're a big booster and you've had season tickets for a long time and you've donated from, here and there to different functions.
Mm-hmm.
We got this guy on the hook and, we just need that. We need to push him across the finish line. There's no guarantee. How many people around here that have that kind of level of, income are saying, no problem. That's what everybody's looking for, is somebody to write unlimited checks. And they don't think twice about it. And I don't think Nebraska has that lineup of people that will just write a check and not think twice about it. And for that large of an athletic department, you need a lot of them. Creighton probably has that, but they're essentially funding one program. And there are people that are like, oh yeah, I see the direct result and we're winning. Where do I send this check? I can't go to Target anymore and write a check, but I can write a check to help Creighton's collective.
Yeah.
Because we're winning and I can see the result of, hey, because of what we did, Ryan Kalkbrenner stayed. Boom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How much?
All right.
Who's next?
8:28. We'll take a quick break.
I think maybe we're going to test during the break. He's there. He looks like he's had a day. He looks like he's about to do his press conference after getting swept. Or he's down 0-3. It's not over yet. We're just a little over halfway there.
One quick tweet before the break. This is from Iowa, JD. I do think bringing NIL in the house is a dangerous game. How long till the first lawsuit from Title IX now that the collective is in the schools and a part of the schools?
Everyone's learning as we go on. It's to be continued.
Well, one of the things, because I had this discussion with Trev. Trev wanted a lot more control over what was going on. And to be fair, Trev did walk into a situation where his first, it was new to him, but his first introduction to NIL was people bitching about money they were promised that they were not getting. And he was having to put out fires from guys that were here that were promised money that were not getting paid, and then parents were involved, and Charles Thompson is knocking on your door. That was kind of his first introduction to the whole NIL world, and that's where it really kickstarted. I got to have more control over this. So if we're making promises or we're making deals, our butt's on the line.
Yeah.
So I'm not answering for something else that was mentioned, and that was before really 1890 took off. That was another group that was making promises all over the place. And Trev is the athletic director. He's like, I have no idea. And you're coming to me, you're like, hey, did you know we were promised blank $1 million?
You were?
Exactly.
Do you want a t-shirt?
That was his response.
You like a picture of Lil Red?
I don't think that's right. Fingers crossed. We'll try and
fingers crossed.
Reconnect with the part-timer, Nick Handley, who's part of the show. At 1620 The Zone.
Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello, hello. Okay. I'm not hearing the station. Is that okay? Or I'm not hearing the commercial break, I guess. Okay, cool. All right. Mother effer. Okay. I forgot y'all can hear me in the stream right now. Love you guys. I know. Live mic.
All right, I'm just telling you, if this doesn't work, I'm walking out. Jimmy, it's the rest of you. Okay. I can hear something.
Yeah.
What do you guys hear?
You.
Hey, how are you guys?
We've been here since 6. Where have you been?
So we got as close to the Best Buy just before 72nd, and Reese got all of a sudden really, really quiet, and all of a sudden I heard that one sound we don't like to hear, and it was all over. And by the way, I'm driving a loaner car because my car is so they got a detailing shop there, but then driving all the way back from 72nd back to the house in Bennington, smelling that while your kid is upchucking like crazy, and then getting them home, hosing them off, hosing the car seat down before that thing stinked to high heaven. But hey,
like the end of Pulp Fiction.
Let's go. Let's go. It's been fun. I'm glad he didn't come in studio because that would have ruined the rest of your guys' morning too.
Would have been the first time someone's puked.
So
in here.
what is he doing now?
He is now on the couch in a blanket. He showered up and everything. He's watching Bluey, and he tells me, boy, he feels really good now.
So you hosed your son down. What'd you do with the car?
The car right now just got a little bit of a touch up. I had to actually give Reese some credit. He kept it pretty much contained in the car seat. So I had to take all the cloth off of that. I went to the side of the house, hosed that down. That is currently drying in my driveway. His blanket is also currently drying because that had to get hosed off. I don't want to be overly graphic, but I'll just say I won't be able to eat clam chowder anytime soon.
Could have waited till like later in the morning.
You know what? We're all in this together, baby. We're all in this together.
I don't remember eating clam chowder when I was 3.
No, we're not.
You might notice I'm wearing a different shirt than I was wearing this morning too.
I thought so.
Yeah. This is the thing though. So 3 years ago, I started doing this annual golf trip to Iowa. So that year when I left, he had RSV. So my wife had to deal with that. And I kept saying, do you want me to come back? And she's like, no, I'll take care of it. And then all of a sudden the next year he got croup. And so there was that going on. So this year, nothing happened. It was great. The third year was the charm. This is the first year she's done this paddleboarding trip. And so she left on Sunday morning. She comes back this afternoon, and she saw on our camera this morning of the car leaving at like 7-ish. And she called me immediately and said, what the hell's going on? I thought you were working from home because of Reese. And I said, well, we had some technical issues, but by the time she called me, he had already done his thing. I said, yeah, we're on our way back, but you enjoy the rest of your vacation. We'll be fine.
Okay. All right. Well, you sound good.
Good. Oh yeah. You guys sound great.
Hat tip to Nick Grimm and Jimmy because they were working furiously behind the scenes.
Appreciate those boys. Good job, guys.
Nick's looking after fellow Nicks.
Yeah.
Adam writes into the Equibank inbox, you guys going to Costco on Saturday?
Oh, the big grand opening. So
not an effing chance I would go to the opening of a Costco.
So is Garth Brooks performing? I feel like so. Apparently,
excuse me.
Apparently, an opening week Costco or an opening celebration is apparently amazing. That's what I've been told. I don't know what's going to actually happen. I was just kidding about Garth Brooks, but I've heard that if you like a good grand opening, you don't want to miss the Costco grand opening. That's what I've been told. Now I'm like you. I get that's going to be a little too crowded for me that I would feel comfortable, but apparently it'll be really.
So I would avoid 180th and West Maple at all costs. Yeah. On Saturday is when it opens, correct?
Yep, and then just if you want to get some solid Costco action,
Friday it opens.
Yeah, Friday. Yeah, go to the one on 132nd because that one will probably be a lot more maneuverable if you don't like crowds.
Congratulations, new Costco opening. You now belong to the city of Omaha.
That's true.
They annexed that land. No, that sounds like, and I'm pro Costco. Costco much greater than Sam's. Sam's is running I don't know. I got feelings about Sam's, but I'm Costco through and through. It just sounds like a miserable experience to go to an opening of that part of Omaha, and the people that have just swarmed the 132nd and Dodge one now have one of their own. I don't know. I don't know you'll be able to move around in there.
No, it's gonna be absolutely insane.
Are they giving away free stuff?
They probably will. Yeah, there'll probably be some free stuff. There'll probably be some giveaways. Hell, they'll probably shoot off fireworks that night. I don't know. Apparently, their grand opening is amazing. They might be giving
elephant rides.
Yeah. I mean, there might be exotic animals that they're giving away. I mean, you think you know Costco, but once you get into an opening weekend, by the way, Husker Country one. No, it is on 180th and Maple, by the way. Apparently these are the things to be. My wife is actually on a Costco face group. When there's new product out, she likes to be informed. Yeah, I got a bit of a problem in this household, so she really wants to go.
I thought that was
lo and behold, Reese is feeling better. Like, hey, you know what? That sounds like a really good thing to take Reese to when I'm working Friday morning.
He's having an old fashioned and a heater right now, reflecting on the morning it's been.
What happens on a Costco Facebook group? People talk about their experiences.
I think everything, Gary.
They're running with the people as you leave that have to look at your receipt, and maybe you misplaced your receipt, and so they give you a hard time.
Yeah, they probably talk about the ones the certain people like George or Wilma to avoid them because they're sticklers. But Fred and Nancy they just kind of let you go by. I know when there are some seasonal things out there, they all inform each other of, oh yeah, by the way, this is back in. Or, hey, there's, we know Sam's had a Herbie Husker. Now Costco has a Herbie Husker too. So get excited about that. No, I don't actually know if that's true, Gary.
There's tickets. You can get Minnesota Golden Gopher tickets at the Costco on 180th in West Maple in Omaha.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, you buy
Minnesota?
So they will have. So this has just been told to me that when you open sports tickets from the area of teams that have combined with Costco to sell tickets, all the teams will be represented. So that means that because Minnesota has partnered with the Costco's in Minnesota to sell tickets of football.
Whoa! What, Nebraska can't get on board?
Well, I think a little bit availability. I wouldn't be surprised, and you know what? And I wouldn't laugh. Your whole job is to put butts in seats. And where are you going where people can have access that a little bit outside of the box? Go to a Costco, you spend like $40 on something, you can get, I don't know, 2-for-1 tickets or whatever some of the things are. There's a lot more colleges that are doing it. And actually, it's a smart move. If you have inventory to sell, you're gonna reach people at a place that you're not thinking about. You're not walking in going, man, I'm gonna go to that Golden Gopher game this weekend. But if you walk into one of your favorite places and right there is a sign and one of those things that you pick up and you have to take to the front where then they give you whatever you're buying. I actually think it's not a bad idea. I'm not laughing at people that get together with Costco to sell sports tickets.
I mean, think about the thousands of people that go through a Costco every day. So if you do have seats available, and maybe I know not every seat has a butt in it for Nebraska games, but they're usually spoken for. So that probably makes sense that Nebraska doesn't do anything. But why doesn't Costco try to buy some Nebraska tickets? Maybe a suite for a game. I would think that would be very grand opening-esque if you could try to buy a suite or buy someone's suite for the Colorado game. Boy, what a good grand opening giveaway that would be for a West Maple Costco opening. No? Okay. Just ideas.
I just think it's going to be a blank show.
I've never been.
It is. It absolutely is.
Everybody in this town that's got a Costco card, that maybe you go to the one in Sarpy County, you go to the one in Dodge. I'm like, I got to go see the new one. I mean, miserable. That parking lot's going to be a mess. That intersection, good thing Elkhorn North is not in school. But when they are in school,
oh God, yes.
You guys want to do a show from there Friday morning? Maybe we could do a show over there.
No, not really.
Okay.
Did you sell it?
I imagine technically it wouldn't even work.
Well, if it's dealing with my computer, it probably won't.
Hey, good news here. I'm going to get my wish. Looks like Paul Skeens will start in the All-Star game because Chris Sale will be unavailable. Because Chris Sale is pitching tonight, and then he will pitch again on Sunday, apparently. And so that leaves one less person that Paul Skeens has to step over so that he can start the television show that is known as the Major League Baseball All-Star Game 1 week from tonight.
Nice.
And this is what we need. We need Paul Skeens starting the game. I want to watch him start the game.
So I heard an argument yesterday of like, no, he hasn't earned it. It's a friggin' television show. Okay, the game doesn't count. It's a television show. It's to drive interest in all the young players, and there's, 19 players under the age of 27. There's 32 first-time All-Stars. It's great. Baseball's in a really, really good spot in terms of young players and playing the game at a high level. I'm over, hey, baseball should promote. They don't, because there's no sense of urgency when you play 162 games. But they have the stage on Tuesday night for the All-Star game, and I would run as many young guys out there as possible. It's a TV show, so you can't be, back in the day, we actually played 2 All-Star games. Well, that's back in the day when my TV didn't have color. So you're doing a TV show. Who wouldn't want to sign up in the first inning to see Skeens against Judge?
I do. For the best reality TV show, as we mentioned.
No, not reality. Not reality, because it is real, but it is a television show.
Are you trying to say reality show is not real?
Bruh.
Wait till I tell you about wrestling.
Now wrestling is real.
It's entertainment. I'm not against it.
Do you not think that there's an athletic component to professional wrestling?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, there absolutely, yes, 100%.
There's not a pain to show for it.
But if it's scripted, it's not real.
Well, sometimes it's not scripted. Did you watch the women's ladder match at Money in the Bank this weekend?
Gary, you know the answer to that. I did not.
Ask your son, who's now on TV.
He is now on TV. You want to know what's going on?
Ready for the day.
I got to really keep him. I got to keep him nearby. I don't.
Reese, one of these days you're going to understand how much of an impact you had on today's show.
I'll tell you about that during the commercial break.
Also, big news. My friend from the College World Series happens to be Paul Skeen's girlfriend, Livy Dunn, made a big announcement yesterday.
Besides the Primanti brothers, which I didn't realize they had pizza.
Yeah, it's not. So here's the menu there. There are. I recently went to a place here in town that I did not know they had pizza either. But it's when you have it on the menu, but you're not known for it. It is down, on the front part of a menu. You have the drinks, your extensive list of drinks, whether cocktails, beer, wine, all of that kind of stuff. Then you flip it over on the back. If a place that is not known for pizza insists on making pizza, it's way down at the bottom of your menu. It's like just a shade above the desserts.
Oh.
And that's at Primanti Brothers. That's where they have it. So I've never had the pizza there. I think it's a waste to go. There's better pizza places in Pittsburgh. There's even Shop and Save has really good pizza. But she is coming back for a 5th year at LSU.
Not done yet.
Well done, headline writer.
Well, that was her tweet, was not DUNNE yet. See?
And I also like this fact of when my guy starts the All-Star game for the National League, is that his girlfriend is not a story. She's not as a big deal. And you know why? Because he only pitches once every 5 days. Now, if he was a position player, she would be a bigger deal in Major League Baseball. Look at Kate Upton. Kate Upton probably has more on her resume than Livy Dunn. But because her now husband, Justin Verlander, only pitches every 5th day, it's not like she's at the game on camera all the time. And also, unlike football, where you got suites and where the wives and the girlfriends sit, is not an area where you're going to get a camera shot into all the time. So she's not as big a deal. So I'm glad about that. So that's the story is going to be about Paul Skeens. Now, Jimmy and yourself, you might want it to be about Livy Dunn. I'm just telling you the fact that because her boyfriend only pitches once every 5 days, it's not a big deal of like a guy who plays only 16 times a year and his girlfriend is in a suite.
Well, the other part about it is he happens to be extremely good. If he would, and that's the same thing with what Justin Verlander, when the whole Kate Upton thing and him were probably at the peak of their storyline. Well, Justin Verlander was pretty darn good. Travis Kelce's pretty darn good. If you get, say, an above average, maybe he's a starter, but he's not a generational type talent, but you have a rock star of a wife.
Hold on here.
Then it becomes more about them.
You're saying you have to be successful to get a celebrity
No.
boyfriend or girlfriend? Okay.
No, I'm just saying the story is going to be more about the girlfriend or wife. If the player is not maybe as good, they're going to focus a lot more on that than his very average numbers. But Paul Skeens in himself is a story. Justin Verlander in himself was a story.
You're making it sound like Glenn Powell couldn't be dating like Terry Atchison from Kirksville, Missouri.
I'm sure she's a lovely lady, but I mean, if you can throw the stats out at me and let me know how she's doing, okay?
Terry in
Yeah.
Kirksville?
Yeah, I want to know how Terry Kirkson's doing.
Doing quite well. She owns a little shop. Just happened that Glenn Powell was passing through and stopped in, and just like the Hallmark movie that's going to be produced around the Kansas City Chiefs, it was,
Yeah, I'm sure it's very, very good. Yes. No, that's sorry. That's going to be more about Glenn Powell though. Okay. Until Terry maybe goes franchise and she really steps up the game, that it all of a sudden becomes multiple locations and then she's living a higher life than Glenn Powell. Then it becomes more about her.
I think Nick's just like killing the American dream for us guys and gals. That is not.
No, it should motivate you.
Coming up, that's why we have no chance with Sydney Sweeney, and we'll get BC's take on it.
Speaking of Glenn Powell.
But they're not together.
No.
That's what they say.
Isn't she engaged?
I thought she was, but
so
boy,
isn't her?
No.
Isn't? Wait a minute. Let's hold on. There's a lot of stuff going on here. What do you mean you wouldn't know?
Oh, yeah,
she's always posing with Glenn Powell. They're always in a private jet. They're always snuggling up
because
together.
they were
That's more than the friend zone,
But
isn't
they were in a movie together.
I know.
And her fiance was the director, correct? You have his Wikipedia page up?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the director of the movie they were in. Anyone but you.
Okay. I'm just saying. They look very cozy together.
He's a businessman from Chicago.
Does he have tabs on her all the time when old Glenn is running around?
They got engaged in 2022.
Are they married yet?
Well, no, they're engaged.
That's what I mean. 2022.
He wants to
That's
have a
couple
large
years.
family in the future. So
What are they waiting for? It's because Glenn. She's second guessing it because of Glenn.
Killing the American dream today.
I got a lot of angst, okay?
Adam says if WWF isn't a real sport because it's scripted, and the NBA isn't a real sport either.
I was wondering how long that
well
would take.
hanging for.
Yeah.
Well, the Chiefs are part of the NFL script, as we have learned in the last couple of years too. So the NFL isn't real, according to some, not myself, but to some conspiracy theorists. So is any sport real?
This would be a great question. What are the things that have happened in the lifetime, your lifetime, that you think is not real, that you've been told is real? Landing on the moon, go. It's summertime show, I'm telling you. All right, we got to take a break. Brian Christopherson's going to join us, Andy Kendy, as well on Mornings with Sharp and Handley, with Jimmy and Reese on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back in as we wrap up the third hour. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Where'd Reese go?
Watching his iPad. Oh, are we there?
That was me. No, that was me.
Oh, okay.
I had him muted during the break just in case Reese dropped any F-bombs.
Yeah, he's feeling that way. No, he's now watching his iPad. He's watching a little Doc McStuffins.
Not Dr. J.
That's later.
Doc Gooden.
Do you screen what he watches? I mean, like, do you have to start the program, or can he randomly select things he gets to watch?
He only has access to Disney and the kids version, so anything that would be considered, well, I guess it's not really R-rated on Disney, but anything that would even be PG-13, and then he can watch YouTube Kids. It's all okay content. Don't worry. I see that you're concerned a little bit. I appreciate.
No, I just I don't watch a lot of this stuff, so this is kind of new to me.
Yeah.
But I think I do remember Doc McStuffins.
Yep.
So
that's new. I mean, I'm sorry, it's new for him. He's big
Oh.
into Bluey, but that's new for him. Doc McStuffins is like a month or two in the making for him.
The U.S. National team for basketball wrapping up their camp out in Vegas. Cooper Flagg got a lot of attention. I guess LeBron was voted the best player. Did they really have that?
In the camp. Well, I guess the rest of them are a bunch of bums.
Do you anoint yourself that? But there's a little bit of controversy of something that has come up during the time in Vegas of the men's basketball team. Many of them can't spin a basketball on their finger.
I just figured if you played in the NBA, you could do that. I can't. I could never do it very well. I think maybe the most I could do is like 4 seconds. But when people they're doing that with it. I know if you're listening, you don't know what I'm doing, but you could actually like pat the ball and make it keep spinning without it moving. Once I got to the first pat, it'd fall right off. So I can do that.
So there are like a couple of things as you get a little bit older in life and things break a little bit easier. You won't be able to try. Like I will to this day, two things. One, that I cannot dunk a basketball on a regular hoop or skateboard very well, even though I've tried many, many times. There's just something about balance and movement that gets in the way of me riding a skateboard. I would have loved to be able to spin a basketball on my finger. When I was in grade school, there was a family, and I think they're from South Dakota. They introduced them as like holding the Guinness Book of World Records. But it was the Crevier family, and they performed at Nebraska, and they performed at Creighton. But it was a husband and wife, and then their kids, and they would come and put on a display of spinning basketballs. They would travel all over the world. Some reason, like when I was in 7th grade, they showed up at our grade school to do this, and I thought that was the coolest thing. And then they go, "Hey, do we have anybody from the audience that would like?" And I was like, "Me." And then you get out there and you can't do it because I got these chubby fat fingers and they can't put the ball on it to spin. And so I was given a stick to hold. It's one of the things that I really, in my 7th grade life, I really look as something down. But I thought this was, why is this a thing? Like LeBron and Curry can't spin a basketball on their finger. Well, then they must not be able to play basketball.
Maybe it's their finger, because I've never even thought of that. Because I would assume, because I know exactly the family you're talking about, because they always perform, and they would even do it on straws. Like they would have different objects that they would be spinning it just to kind of throw it in all of our faces. But I would assume if they pulled somebody out of the crowd, that they'd have the utmost confidence that they could make, no matter what the finger, whether it's your pinky, whether it's your pointer, maybe even your thumb, no matter the size or shape, that they could make it spin. So I'm actually kind of disappointed to hear that they could not make it spin on your finger. So maybe, Gary, you just answered the question. Maybe it's because LeBron and Steph have different sized fingers and it just doesn't work.
So people are surprised that Curry can't spin a ball on his finger.
I am.
Really?
Yeah, I am.
Like, I don't even see like kids just messing around these days, like we used to with the, because you'd have the red, white, and blue basketball because the Globetrotters did it, and you'd spin it on your finger.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even see kids like messing around. I mean, they'd rather go shoot 400 3-point shots, or do anything else besides spin the basketball on their finger. But this is like a story out of a media session yesterday. I'm like, boy, we are in the middle of July.
I love that they're trying to bring it back, though. They're trying to bring the art of it back because maybe it's a generation of players that just never really emphasized spinning the ball on their finger. And now they're beyond help. You can't help them now because they've already learned so many basketball skills that's one of those things, you can't teach a old dog new tricks. Maybe that's the case.
Steve says the reason they came to your school, Catholic school, is because they are a very religious family and they have a message.
I've heard that. No, actually, they are a religious family. I have heard that. I don't know what the message is, but I have heard that they are very religious.
Whatever message they gave me in 7th grade, I was just more concerned about the balls and how come they didn't have fire. So simple things in life. All right. Brian Christopherson is going to join us next. Lots going on in BC's world that we will dive into. Also, Andy Kendy will stop by. Maybe we'll get an update on when AK is coming back off the IL. He's been transferred to the 60-day IL. I don't know if he's has a rehab assignment out of Warner Park tonight against the Mudhens. All right, last hour's next on 1620 The Zone. All right, Big 12 Media Days today at the Roomba, home of this past Super Bowl in Las Vegas. 4 new teams are in it. Dion is there. Ollie Gordon is there. KU, K-State, all there. So football season is right around the corner. Big 10 Media Days are in a couple of weeks, where you'll find with the host of Husker 24/7 crew, Brian Christopherson. He joins us now. Good morning, BC.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good. When you told me you were on vacation, I had a request. Did we bring back any walleye for the room?
I didn't catch one walleye. Fishing was slow up there in our lake. The biggest news item personally was I think I joined like the pickleball cult of America. My brother's been playing, and he set up kind of a makeshift court. It was a little smaller than standard size. Sorry to the real pickleballers out there offended by that, but we had to do with what we had. And so we got pretty intense about it throughout the week, and there's no question I'm probably going to head over and get a racket at some point this week. And I was one of those people who was always like kind of eyes glazed over whenever someone would bring up their pickleball stories, and now I feel like I get it. I understand why it pulls in. So I'm in it.
If you have a strength, though, would you say backhand, forehand? Where do you seem to thrive? What can you really base your game off of?
I really don't know if I have a strength or weakness yet where I'd say this is way better than the other thing. I think I was pretty solid about, just falling and keeping it going. But where I was getting owned was my brother would set up shop just outside the kitchen, which I learned was a term by like on day 2. I didn't even know that the first day. So I got to learn how to play around the kitchen much better just to have a shot or to clear people out of the kitchen, I guess. I don't know. I'm probably saying stuff that's silly to a longtime player, but I'm learning. I got some lessons. I did stretch my brother into some competitive games, even though I never got a victory.
Can we discuss the fact that your favorite baseball team only got one All-Star for a team that has the 7th best record in baseball?
My boys are always overlooked. They've had a weird kind of season where I think I'm a follower of them, and sometimes I've been like, man, this season kind of stinks. Like it's felt like they've had these streaks, but they've also had these times where they've won like 6 or 7 in a row, and you look up and they're like 52-39 now. I mean, it's because the Guardians have played so well that I guess it's felt like to me sometimes like, man, this isn't going to plan.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we should have had more than one guy. You know who it sounds weird to say, but Twins fans were arguing for is Willie Castro was having a pretty darn good first half. And he's one of those, how every year there's a player who's like, what the stinks he doing on the roster? Like Willie Castro maybe could have been that guy for the Twins. But yeah, Carlos Correa got on, so I know all the Correa Astros haters won't like that, but we had to have somebody, and he's our guy.
Hey, as a Guardians fan, you guys have my attention more than anything right now, especially if you guys get to full strength as well and continue to smash 26 home run. What is it, 26 game home run hitting streak right now too? So you keep doing you. Don't worry. At some point, I'm sure Shafe says the same thing. The other shoe will fall for our beloved Cleveland baseball team, and here you guys will be right there on the doorstep.
Well, we'll see if Jose Miranda can just keep hitting everything in sight. Like right now, it's like a flying saucer to him up there. He's just smacking everything. But and then we got Brooks Lee coming up, young rookie. Yeah. And I know I'm boring people with my Twins talk, but Brooks Lee, any guy named Brooks, I feel like has a good. Like if you want your kid to have a shot at a baseball career, throw that name Brooks on him. Brooksy. There's a good chance he's going to have something. He'll at least be like a second-team all-stater in high school with that name, I think.
Let's shift to a little football because everybody goes on vacation and things happen. That's how the news cycle works. John Butler, we think it'll be made official today. He's already in Lincoln. His first couple of things that he has to tackle will be what?
I suppose it's always like when the timetable is like this with a short runway, it's just like building that trust as fast as you can with guys, getting them in your office, them getting to know you and how you're going to operate a little bit. You know, you don't want to jump right to some of those conversations, but you got to have those easy first conversations to ease people in. And then you're going to have to pretty quickly develop that type of relationship where guys know what you're saying comes from the heart and they can believe in it and vice versa. So you got to start working on that immediately. And then I suppose the other thing is, I don't know what Tony White's vacation plans were this summer, but obviously, even though John Butler is a veteran coach, you know, you've got to get on the same page and you know, have an understanding of sort of how you're operating in certain ways and things that you're going to have to talk over there. So I have to think those are the biggest priorities. I wrote about this over the weekend, how Tony White, we knew was a big deal coming back. Obviously it's an even bigger deal now because he's just got that temperament and sort of ability to listen and get feedback from another coach and then explain his process well to people that I think can help when you're kind of in a little bit of a time crunch, even though obviously John Butler is, you know, got a big time resume. I mean, he's been coaching for decades. Still, there's always that adjustment when you're in a new place and new language and everybody does things a little differently. So they got to get on the same page. But I think Tony White's just style and the way he communicates and most importantly, the way we've heard that he listens, I think is a big deal right now.
It's a good point, BC, because I would agree that that's going to be an interesting transition from the standpoint of not necessarily – I'd like to think whether it's a 3-3-5, a 4-3, a 5-2, whatever you're running, I would like to think that there's – if you know the secondary and how it's going to operate, it's probably going to be interchangeable in a lot of defenses. But I think you bring up an interesting point. Is it not necessarily maybe not being as familiar with the 3-3-5 more than it would be just the overall verbiage and what guys are used to in that room on how Evan Cooper communicated?
I mean, I think it's the verbiage and just, that it's like that you probably have easy terms that one coach had that everybody was on the same page with. And now you got to get up to speed with another guy and him doing the same thing or him knowing those terms. You know, what really helps this process is there is an interesting battles for like Nebraska's too deep in the secondary. But when you look at the top line, you've got 4 or 5 guys that I know this phrase gets thrown around a lot, the high football IQ guys, but they've got them back there. I mean, Isaac Gifford is the bulldog of that defense to me, like on all levels. And so you've got him in your room and you've got Tommy Hill, who everybody's hoping is on the cusp of a really consistent, you know, all Big Ten type of season. And then Marquise Buford, Deshaun Singleton. These are guys who know their stuff. Like Marquise Buford has impressed 2 different coaching staffs with how quickly he picks stuff up. And so I feel like that can help, is that, you know, going in, you've at least got some veterans who are kind of in betweens with the other guys that can help a new coach. So that's going to be a big deal, I would think.
How soon do you think you'll know that this defense is better than they were last year?
I think Colorado's going to be a tough test. We can wonder about certain things and how they run their organization sometimes, but you can't deny that they're going to have some good skill, really good skill guys. I mean, Shadour's a really good quarterback. His personality might not be for everybody, but he's definitely got the goods, and he's going to test your secondary. And he's not, even though Nebraska got to him and actually sacked him quite a bit last year, he's a guy that can be elusive back there and extend some stuff. And so I really do think that week 2 game will be a decent barometer for this defense. But they just have to really go into camp. And I liked how they talked in the spring about, like, whatever happened last year, it's not like an iPhone where you get a new one and that data just, like, you know, moves over to the other one. You can't, whatever your top 10 stats were last year, you're nothing right now. And you got to look at it that way. you can have confidence and believe in, the system better and what you're going to get done. But you also know that you haven't done anything yet, and you're going to have to put in the work each day with a slightly different look at certain spots than you had a season ago. Like Omar Brown was a really important player, and obviously Reimer and some of those guys who were veterans mattered. So other guys have to step into roles and really make it a focus of I'm not going to be part of the group that lets this thing drop off. We're going to start a tradition here of being that type of top 10, top 15 defense every year, and let's roll with it.
BC, I know athletic directors have that list in their desk. If something were to happen to their head coach, that they would be able to move forward and hopefully have a seamless transition. I know that coaches, especially the ones worth their salt, are always going to have a contingency plan on just about everything. But what you've learned from Matt Rule over the last 72 hours of this whole situation with Evan Cooper and being able to transition into what seems to be a more than capable replacement, what characteristic about Matt Rule stands out in all of this?
That he's always forward thinking, and for the most part, I don't think that he's going to get caught too off balance. Even if you do get thrown a curveball, he's been around it long enough to understand, even if you don't know when the pitch is coming or what that pitch exactly is going to be, it is going to happen at some point. And like you said, you do have to have a list of people that you might consider if this happened or that happened, even if there's a day in March where you're not even thinking about it. Like, you still have that, in your desk, as you say, or in your mind, like, I could go this way or I could go that way if that domino fell. Mm-hmm. And I feel like he must have some of that, because if this goes through as we think it will, I'm not guaranteeing anything for what they're going to do in the secondary, but you would all have to say, you look at John Butler's resume. I mean, this was a guy who was right in the running to be the Buffalo Bills defensive coordinator. I mean, he's right there. And, obviously was a trusted guy with Penn State and the Houston Texans before that. He's got a very complete resume that is going to get players' attention. They're going to respect it right away. And the fact that, I think Rule has some pull because he's thought of as one of those coaches who's very detailed. And he's also a coach who's been in the NFL, and, he's been at all levels. And I think that's probably appealing to guys like John Butler who have bounced between college and pro. So there's a lot of things that work to the benefit for Rule just from his background, I think, that is appealing. And then the resources of Nebraska, let's not kid ourselves. You can probably put in front of a coach a pretty substantial offer that has to at least make him go to his family and think, let's talk this over. This looks like a pretty good situation. And we can't deny or be naive to the fact. I'm not trying to say Tony White could be here 4 years for all I know. We always act like it's going to be next year. Who knows what's going to happen? It's got to be the right, job that opens for him to move on from here. He's got a good situation now. But obviously, if you're a coach looking in, you're saying, there could be an opportunity at some point to be in the running as a coordinator here down the road. And that has to be at least something that a guy writes down on a piece of paper when he's considering what to do with a job like this.
Brian Christopherson from Husker 24/7 joining us. Let's shift to the NIL and the announcement yesterday. And it's kind of, Nebraska athletics in 1890 are now together, and hopefully it'll super beneficial, but it's, since Dannon got here, he's embraced it. The gear is out there. But people are still trying to figure it out. And especially the news yesterday of, do you take the points or do you take the tax deduction? Everybody's trying to figure that out. and we all are in here in 3 years trying to figure out how this works. And are you winning? Are you losing? How is a coach embracing it? How much of an impact do you think it would make, BC, if a guy like Dylan Raiola was a promotional piece for 1890, and he basically said, if it wasn't for 1890, I'm not here? What kind of an impact do you think that would have on the donor base?
If there's a player where that's from his heart and that's his statement that is true and he believes in, I see no problem with that. And I do think it could help you a little bit. To what degree, I could obviously not say. But obviously, I think Nebraska does well, but you're fighting battles with, let's face it, Oregon and Ohio State. I mean, they've got pretty big money pots. So I mean, whatever you can do to increase your reach with that is good. We obviously knew when Troy Dannon first got here, he was going to make it a central piece of the athletic department. He said that like in his 5th or 6th question that he'd wear 1890 gear as much as, you'd probably see it on him as much as his Husker gear. So when you see announcements like yesterday, I don't think it surprised people. In fact, I think there were a few people who were like, I thought that was already sort of, I think people don't like it is. You're right. This is like, remember in college when you'd have a teacher, I don't know if you had this, where they'd give you like 5 possible essay questions that might be in the test, and you would maybe go study 1 or 2, but there were like 2 or 3 you didn't know as well. I feel like the NIL component for a lot of people, including me, is like that hazy 4th question where you're like, man, I kind of hope there's not a lot I have to say about that on the test sometimes, because it is hard to sometimes get your arms around like how every piece of it works and who's doing it really well and where does Nebraska rank and all that. But I think you make a good point, Gary, with just like however you can do to influence people locally, like, yeah, you can be a part of this, you can help it. And this particular big time player was impacted by it. That certainly can help.
Well, and I think Gary brings up a great question. If someone like Dylan Raiola says that, or any of your high-end recruits say that, because we've always had this conversation, and now that the stadium project maybe isn't as much of a conversation as it was when Trev was here, or even when they're transitioning to Troy Dannon, but if you were a donor that wanted to impact this football program, that you're more likely to donate to a stadium project or to NIL. I think for what Gary asks, if you have a guy like that comes out and says, hey, this is why I came here. I mean, I like the school. Obviously, everybody knows my kid, the family connection, but it came down to they just are very forward thinking, very progressive, and there's a lot of opportunity here for NIL. I almost think it's a no-brainer that even some of the people that look a little bit further down the road on what's best for this football program is still going to look at the NIL. I hesitate to think that there's going to be a lot of people, unless you're in a position financially that you can do both. I think it's probably 70-30 that people are going NIL over stadium projects.
Yeah, you might be right on that. And I continue, we've always asked this question with recruiting, right? Like, what would happen if they actually won 9 games, 2 consecutive seasons again? And like, how would that, change the equation? I get choked up, emotional talking about it. It's like such a deep thought, as you can tell. But I mean, we could ask that same question about the NIL. Like, what would that mean to like people who are donating to stadium stuff to the NIL, fund? If the wins started piling up more, people have been very charitable considering Nebraska's track record recently. You'd have to say more than like I think about any other program in the country, and I don't think anybody in Nebraska's administration takes that for granted. And you see Matt Rule with the video like Sunday. I think it was Sunday. I was coming back from the lake, but it was like, now it's our time, right? Like, it all works together. There's an understanding. Like, these people they've been loyal. They've been given stuff even when times have been lean. It is now that moment where you got to strike and you got to win a few more ball games, and all the stuff we're talking about. Then it lifts. The water goes up. You're gonna get more funding from people and stuff like that when they see the more wins. But yeah, it's a really interesting conversation, and sometimes the details are elusive when it comes to NIL. And yet it's probably one of the most important things that's going to decide if you win or lose at this level now. So that's why it's such a weird topic, because it means so much, and yet sometimes it's foggy, like who's doing it really well and how do you do it really well.
Hey, we appreciate your time. Welcome back from vacation. I'll miss the nature videos, but I'm glad you're back.
Yeah, the trumpet swan, loon. I was trying to here.
Yeah.
That's why my voice is like that. I was doing loon calls on the lake, so you got to forgive me a bit. But
well,
anyway,
I've sent it to CBS Sunday morning, so maybe they'll use it at the end of their show.
That does seem like something that would get on that show. Actually, yeah, that's a very inside reference, but I appreciate it.
Yes. Enjoy your pickleball. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
That's pickleballer, Brian Christopherson, who I want to play pickleball. I need to take a lesson, but he used some phrases that I've heard. So John says we now confirm that BC is kind of a nerd. No.
Oh, he's the best kind though. That's
Hey,
the thing.
man, pickleball is everywhere. If you're not pickleballing, I'm not sure what you're doing, because people are pickleballing. People that I wouldn't even think that are pickleballing are pickleballing.
Yeah. It's like Hansel. It's so hot right now. No, it's if you look at all the different tennis courts around the area too, they're all being converted over into
Like who?
Hansel. Oh, sorry, it's a Zoolander reference. My bad.
Oh,
Hansel. He's so hot right now.
You're talking about Gretel and
Anyway, yes, but
that's where I went.
tennis courts don't exist anymore. They're all pickleball courts, and I've never seen tennis courts so packed in my life since they converted them all into pickleball courts. So I feel like there's going to be a time in the near future, guys, we're not going to be watching Wimbledon. We're going to be watching the Wimbledon of
Oh, no.
What if I don't watch either?
We will. You should be watching Wimbledon. We got 2 Americans that are in the quarterfinals for the first time since 2000. You got Joker yesterday, who is he's a Terminator. You got Sinner and Alcaraz, who are the 2 top men's
Is
players.
Coco still playing? I know her.
No.
She got beat. She had a bad one.
So she's going to have to work on her serve if playing on grass, for her to be successful on grass. I know you guys don't pay attention to tennis, but I pay attention to the majors. I love Wimbledon.
I used to watch
and
Wimbledon
yesterday was a
religiously.
really good day at Wimbledon. Hey, we got Fritzy, an American. We got 2 Americans that are in the quarterfinals.
It was like WWF for me. I used to watch it a lot when Andre Agassi was banging. But since then, even Pete Sampras, throw me a little Pete Sampras in there too. I was having a good time.
Roddick was good. I watched Roddick.
Oh, you mean Nebraska's own Andy Roddick?
Wow.
What was it 08 or 09 where they had that epic match on a Sunday? Federer and maybe it was Murray. I don't know. I was at Tiger's tournament that day.
I mean,
it's
a big deal that we have 2 Americans in the quarterfinals. I mean, Nebraska's won a bowl game most recently than having 2 Americans in the quarterfinals. The Wimbledon has been really, really good. Like the quarterfinals are going to be fantastic. And of course, you'll wake up. There is no Bud Collins. There is no NBC. You'll wake up on Saturday and Sunday and watch the championship at Wimbledon. The women on Saturday and the men on Sunday, won't you?
I did used to watch this every year.
I mean,
actually, more than any other tennis major, Wimbledon was the one I watched the most, probably because of the time of the year. But still, I watched it. I liked it.
I did catch a little bit of Coco Gauff's loss to Emma Navarro. I did watch a little bit of that because she kept yelling at her box. She kept yelling at her coaches in the box, which I know you can get limited coaching when they're in the box, but she was having a tough one. That was hard to watch.
How would you like to call a match? You see where ESPN is? Like Chris Fowler and Chris Everett or Johnny Mack and his brother are like right in there, that like little box off to the side of the court.
It's pretty sweet.
Wimbledon's on my bucket list. I mean, I want to go. I want to go to Wimbledon. But
I want to do what everybody's doing this week, where they go to
another mortgage.
I want to do the Wimbledon, and then you just carry that trip over to the British Open. Because you see a lot of the players now, they're playing in the Scottish Open this week, and then they're going to go to the British Open. So you see a lot of the guys and gals stopping, like their wives, stopping in and catching a Wimbledon match, and then they go right over to their next golf event. I think that would be amazing.
Hey, what? By the way, on that note, so here in a little bit, they're going to announce the Ryder Cup captain. And it's going to be Keegan Bradley, who, screw you, Zach Johnson.
Yeah, get screwed last year.
What is Tiger doing that he's so busy?
So that role that he's taken on of the PGA on the advisory board, didn't he take a bit of a step back? Now, I know Rory did, and then Rory wanted to come back, and they said, no, we're good. But didn't Tiger even take a little bit of a step back? So I thought he was doing that so he could be the Ryder Cup captain. I don't get why he's not doing it now.
Is it more he doesn't want the scrutiny?
Probably.
Okay.
I would assume so. And I think last year
Tiger is busy.
Well, you saw last year how it was, first of all, highly publicized. You had Netflix all over it for the entire second season of Full Swing. So you were front and center on those decisions and the thought process that goes into those decisions. And look, I'm a Zach Johnson fan, but it looked like he sided with his boys. They're all staying in the same place, getting ready for the British Open, and they're all like, "So, who are you going to pick, huh?" And it came across very political. So it wouldn't shock me if Tiger Woods wants to just avoid all that stuff.
Yeah. Remember when we used to have rider captains that were great or accomplished?
Yeah. Hey, Zach won a couple majors. Or are you
Well,
talking about Keegan Bradley?
I'm not saying him. I'm talking about Keegan Bradley.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it works. He's an out-of-the-box thinker. He knows Bethpage pretty well. He has a passion for the Ryder Cup. Just an interesting selection as the captain.
It is. It's almost like they felt bad of what happened last year. Like, hey, throw the guy a bone if Tiger won't do it.
It is a slam on Zach Johnson, I believe. Yep. All right, 33 past the hour. Still to come before we turn it over to Connor Happer, who is back in studio today. We'll talk to Andy Kendy from KATV on 1620 The Zone. All right, Andy Kendy, right around the corner. Nick, I was saving this for you when you got back with us today. You don't know there is soccer today, right?
Did I know there was soccer today? No, I don't know there's soccer.
Argentina, Canada. You got
Oh,
Spain.
let's go Canadians.
Do a little game. Hey, that is a pain to the U.S. that the U.S. and Mexico are out and Canada is still playing.
Well, can't have the Stanley Cup.
And we're not talking hockey either.
We got to get used to rivalries because I think Canada has the second best team in the U.S. Or the Olympic basketball tournament for the men.
Yes. So could we? Are you saying we could have a rivalry in soccer with the United States and Canada at some point?
Maybe. I'm trying to figure out who our rival is in world competition. Not world wars, but world competition.
Who would be our rival in world
We don't-
wars?
It's not like
Is
the
it Russia?
US in world wars?
Yeah, I mean, I know we haven't really had one directly with them, but that was always we were always told World War III was going to be with Russia. The Cold War. I mean, they made Rocky IV after it.
I mean, like in hockey, it's not as big a deal to beat Russia anymore.
No, it's all about Canada.
I don't know what our world, like in certain sports, the U.S. owes Lithuania something, but in basketball, but Lithuania didn't make it.
Take that, Cernus.
The Australians talk smack to our swimmers.
Yeah.
I don't know that we have a country like when it comes to world competition in the Olympics, who we must beat. China, Japan?
Oh. Well, yeah. I mean, then you kind of gauge
East
the
Germany and
temperature.
West Germany are out. They will not be involved in this year's Olympics.
Yeah. Well, you get involved with the audience, your country. Who does your country have the most angst towards? And then you just direct it upon them as long as they're qualifiers. And then you just go from there.
I actually think in that case, Nick, it'd be very difficult because we're not playing ourselves.
That is very, very true.
Andy Kendy coming next. All right, it's AK time. Andy Kendy from KTV joins us. Good morning. How are you?
Morning, boys. Good. Actually, we are less than a week away from return to work, so everything's going in the right direction, and I'll be back Monday. Give me a couple days under my belt, and then it's off to Indianapolis. So how about that?
Nice. So will you be doing a rehab assignment this week out at Winter Park?
Yeah. Well, they're gonna start me in Northwest Arkansas because AAA might be too advanced. But yeah, I think we're all go. I get blood drawn every week, and the levels look great. So I think we've turned the corner on this thing. And again, shout out to Lauren and Nat Tilly and Eddie Messel for filling in. And it looks like Monday is my return to service. So
yes,
thanks for everybody for all the cards and letters and emails and stuff like that, and the well wishes. I really appreciate it. But man, this has been a long, fast summer, if that makes any sense.
I know you've got an amazing support system at home for sure, but are they? I mean, be honest. How sick are they of you being home?
Oh, they're ready for Dad to go back to work. No question. No question. In fact, we're not down to like Xing out the days, but we're close. We're close.
Okay.
I think everybody's ready for Dad to leave the house. No question. I know Dad's ready for Dad to leave the house. How about that? Yeah.
All right, let me pose you this one here. Because you, when you're at full strength, you are a competitive guy. You've been known to dabble in some athletics. Do you think that you could get a racket on one serve at Wimbledon? 10 serves, one time you would get a racket on one of the serves.
A racket? I think a racket. One. I'm not saying I'm going to hit it back over the net, but I think I could probably get one. A couple of years ago, not the same, but we tried to. Thor Tripp and I tried to hit off the UNO pitcher that year on softball, and I think I got a bat it on a ball. Like I might have hit 2 foul balls out of 15 pitches. Now Thor was able to get some good contact, but Thor played college baseball. But yeah, I think that for Wimbledon, yeah, I don't know, maybe 1 out of 10. I'm thinking I'm swinging it no matter what. Like maybe a goalie who's clueless on a penalty kick. I'm going to dive one way, and I'm going to take a hack. So I'm thinking maybe 1 out of 10 would be right?
I have faith in you that you'd at least make contact one of the times. Now, this is obviously a very smooth transition into pickleball. And are you into pickleball? And would you want to see that step up into an Olympic sport?
It's funny you ask, because my wife last year for my birthday got me a pickleball set, and it is still in the box. So I have not partaken, but maybe after this latest health scare, I may be forced into the pickleball courts. I see it. I mean, we have a court right by our house, and it's constantly in use. So, with all these people doing it, it's got to be somewhat fun, right? I mean, it looks like it gets you at least moving off the couch. So I think that might be in my future. Actually, I might have to take off the seal and the wrapping off that box and open up and see what I got in there.
Any other time you lose a well-liked, pretty successful assistant coach on July 5th, it's scramble mode, and you're like, oh, woe is me. What's your reaction to the way this has been handled and the reaction from media and fans towards losing Evan Cooper, but getting a new defensive back coach on what may be official today, July 9th?
We're still waiting on that official word, which, is somewhat puzzling. But, at this time of year that you got people on vacation, and this is really vacation time for a lot of this, which makes it even more curious about the timing of everything. And I think everybody can connect the dots a little bit and say, the news broke, quote unquote, on a Friday afternoon of a holiday weekend. So that was probably by design. And if you have a replacement already, reportedly in place less than 24 hours later, I think that this just didn't happen overnight. So I think this was in the works. And my reaction was, A, what happened, and B, who's going to take over? Now, the guy that they allegedly got, this John Butler guy from the Buffalo Bills, I mean, it's like, oh my goodness, could you script a better guy to come into a room and lead this group of talented defensive backs because this guy actually has pedigree. He's coached at pretty much every level, including the NFL, and when he didn't get the job he wanted at the highest level, he decided to take another path, and so that's why he's available at this late date. And I mean, I think that the interesting take was how quickly fans can pivot and say, "Oh my gosh, this is not a loss. This could be, dare we even say an improvement in that room?" And we'll have to wait and see if that comes to fruition. But kind of a strange little week that just kind of, if you weren't paying attention, if you were a little groggy and shaking out the cobwebs on Friday after the July 4th, man, you got to pay attention, even on vacation or even during this July month, which is traditionally the slowest, obviously, time of the year before media days kicks in. But man, the timing is curious, and I'm sure there's more to the story, and I'm sure it will trickle out as we go by. But yeah, kind of an interesting thud to the summer.
Well, and Andy, you bring up what I wanted to ask you right there, and that is, okay, if more about this story trickles out at some point, I get the feeling we're going to be so further along with the next move and the new plan, the contingency plan that Matt Rule had in place, that it won't be maybe talked about as much. That Gary and I talked about this yesterday. If you had maybe previous coaching staffs having a similar situation, do we know that this would basically be a 24-hour story, and then you would be able to successfully present another option where people are now focused on that candidate and starting to think, okay, well, maybe we'll be in good hands then.
Oh, no question. I mean, look at the new shiny object, right? I mean,
right.
This is why you go back and you start connecting the dots and you say, wow, this news breaks on a Friday night, and by Saturday morning, before you even have your coffee, you open your phone, you're like, oh my gosh, this was quick. And hey, let's talk about this new guy coming in. I think, obviously this is the thing I'm most impressed with is the level of how do I say this? How they've been able to close the doors on anything leaking out of that building, news. And because in years past, we would have gotten a heads up or a trickle down or a message board or a cryptic, some kind of messaging that says, hey, there's going to be change. This kind of took everybody by surprise. And that, I think, speaks to the larger, tip of the cap to Matt Rule and his people that can keep this under wraps for this long, because obviously this didn't happen Friday afternoon at 5:00.
Right.
Obviously this had been in the works. And that's, I think, the thing that you really go back and you see and say, okay, the Friday news dump cycle, everybody knows the drill. But if you have a shiny object by the time you wake up from your sleep on Friday night, I mean, that's pretty impressive media relations right there, if you ask me.
Well, if you think about, and this happened, so the incident last year with Bob Wagner happened at the end of July, and actually, happened while we were all weren't we all in Indianapolis when this happened?
I think we were coming back on the way because we couldn't ask about it. I remember there was the little, that little time of travel between the end of media days and the start of camp.
So they announced it on a Friday, and I think as they announced that he was resigning, he had already said Josh Martin is going to take his place for this upcoming season.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's a guy that was already in place, remember? And that's another thing, too, that there was there's the legal documents there that actually shows what happened to Bob Wagner. Yeah. And that's why this other issue is so, I don't know, it's just, there's more to the story. How much do people want to get into it? How much do people care at this point? Are people just ready to turn the page? That's the question. Like, I never know how much people care about really what happened. Everybody likes talking about it per se, but obviously, depending on what the actual issue was, that's a delicate dance you're doing there, because some people says, just leave the guy alone. It's a personal issue, blah, 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 blah. Let's move on with our lives and focus in on the new coach that's coming in. But other people are like, this guy was a heavily paid, one of the higher paid assistants on the squad, and he's leaving in the middle of the summer. I think Husker fans in this day and age have some right to know what the heck happened. So I think there's a give and take there, but definitely a sensitive subject, no question.
Yeah, and we we mentioned we have Big Ten Media Days coming up now. This is a story that will be put to bed because you will have the replacement. Do you think there's going to be any lingering effect? I mean, this will be the first time, obviously, people have a chance to, national media as well, have a chance to ask Matt Rule about it and that transition. But do you get the feeling that this will even be that big of a story by the time we get there?
I think Matt Rule comes out, says it right away in his opening comments. We move forward and we focus on John Butler. I think that's just the way you handle it. And a couple people were asking, do you think we'll hear from Butler before media days? I don't think we will. And I think, if anything, we may hear from him before camp begins in that little period, a couple of days before camp kicks off on the 31st. But it's Matt Rule's team, and he can disseminate the message the way he wants, and I think he'll do that when he steps up to the podium. Speaking of which, did you know media day starts today for Big 12, and they're in Vegas.
Yes.
I mean, what is Big Ten doing keeping it in Indianapolis? I'd push for, why don't we go to Las Vegas?
Well,
garbage.
there also is the part that it's 120 degrees in Vegas right
That's
now.
good point. But it's indoors. It's indoors.
Yeah,
It's
they are.
stadium,
They are at the Roomba.
Yeah. It's funny. I looked at the schedule. I'm like, okay, 2 questions. When does Iowa State talk today, and when does Dion talk tomorrow? So
Yes.
those are the two things that we care about.
Well, and I wonder, I think, Jim Delaney wanted to think outside of the box and took the Big Ten basketball tournament to Madison Square Garden, and he took it to D.C., and it wasn't well received, but he wanted to throw a bone to the East Coast. What do you think is the first event where Tony Petitti throws a bone to the 4 West Coast schools?
Oh, I think basketball would probably be it. I mean, that city has multiple venues in which a conference tournament can be held. I think that's a natural in the coming years. I think that's probably there's probably a better chance of the basketball happening out there than the football at this stage. But I wouldn't rule out football if the conference championships continue as we know it. But I think the conference basketball that's the conference basketball tournament's a pretty good fit out there, and I would push. I'm normally team stay home on conference championship games, but I jump on team let's travel for that one. I tell you that much.
I like your thinking. Also, I like that you're going to be back on the desk on Monday. Fingers crossed we make movement towards there, but that's some of the best news we've heard all day.
I appreciate the support, and I appreciate everybody's support as I've gone through this 2-month ordeal, fellas.
All right. Thanks, AK.
Thanks, guys.
All right. There you go. Monday night during sweeps. It's July sweeps on local television. So they're covering all the big stories.
Promos.
That makes me so happy. I remember when we first actually had a chance to talk to him when he was laid up. Oh, he was reaching for things to watch and things to kill the time. That and KETV especially, they do it so good. They are active. They are everywhere. And that was, if you remember, that was during a time that there was a lot going on. And so, I mean, missing the College World Series, all of that, but even before that, I'm so happy for him because I know that had to be a rough time to be away too. So glad to hear he's going to be back and he's going to be doing his thing.
Yeah, and he shows up. The new guy shows up and he immediately gets to go to Indianapolis.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Thanks for putting up with us today.
Gosh.
Hope the little guy is feeling better.
Appreciate it. Thanks for hanging in there, boys. That was a circus.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. Connor Hepper is back with Josh here in a little bit. And we'll talk to you tomorrow at 6, 20 hours away with more of Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.